Elf I am the protagonist template, Invincible Chapter 261 to 280. Chapter 261. When I was a child, the argument was discovered, Chabot's excitement. For full order. The next battle is nothing to write home about. Purely one-sided abuse. It is undeniable that although he is trapped in the boundaries of the Heavenly King, Chabot has indeed brought out all the potential that the duck-billed fire dragon can unearth, even exceedingly. If it is a slightly weaker champion elf, I am afraid that it will not be able to win the duck-billed fire dragon of Chabot for a while. But in the face of super evolution, Super Shenado, whose strength has reached the peak of the championship, under the huge difference in strength, all the out of the ordinary and new ways are broken like a bubble. The Crimson Badge is in hand. Because of the poor level after evolution, the duck-billed fire dragon only contributed 5 points of experience to Shenado. However, the goal has been exceeded, and Baizi didn't care about the less experience points. After the end of the battle, April 17 inches is already in the sky. Baizi naturally didn't have the idea of rushing to leave Red Lotus Island overnight, and with Chabot's warm meeting, he followed Chabot and turned towards the hot spring hotel on the mountainside. Chabot contacted the ranger and the mayor of Red Lotus Island and explained the movement of the Red Lotus crater tonight. Then, he looked like he was hesitant to speak. Good half sound. In the end, he couldn't help but ask, "Boy Baizi, about the evolution of Shenado, in the end. I don't know the specifics, maybe it's a throwback, maybe some kind of miraculous power." Baizi he shrugged, and didn't really want to talk deeply about Shenado. He, and even Shenado, had too many secrets. And most of them involve some unspoken secrets. Even about the system. Baizi has no idea to tell anyone. And his words are not completely nonsense. The phenomenon of super evolution is indeed a kind of atavism, and his own Shenado is indeed a super evolution that relies on the miraculous power obtained by the system, the power of evolution. As that's so, Chabot naturally saw that Baizi didn't want to talk about it, so he didn't ask any questions. Although he is very curious about the re-evolution of Shenado, he is not the kind of fanatic who has an extreme desire to explore things. Perhaps out of curiosity he would go all out. But at the same time, it can also be rational enough to withdraw. Just like the secret experiment he had secretly participated in back then. Maybe that's why. Although he has enough achievements in both the trainer and the researcher, in the end, he still failed to reach the top of the pyramid in any of them. The reason why the trainer has stopped at the Heavenly King level and has not been able to become an elf doctor in terms of academics. Baizi nodded and changed the subject. Speaking of which, I remember that Mr. Chabot once published a paper on the potential power of elves, right? Yes, have you read it? Chabot looked a little surprised. Although the website where the paper was published was also elf.com, not everyone could enter the independent section. Those who can enter here are either those with unique academic achievements, or those who are specially invited to enter by several doctors of sector management, but no matter what kind. Scholars who can enter this section to browse will not be mediocre. At least, there is some academic achievement. And the strength of the white-haired boy trainer in front of him has been seen with his own eyes, and it is already monster enough. Is it possible that you can still make achievements in academics? Chabot was a little unconvinced, but then, he suddenly thought of something. Wait, Baizi. Baizi's name was chanted in his mouth. Then, he turned his head abruptly. I remember that in Dr. Damu's Theory of Characteristics, a few years ago, the argument found that the person and assistant were also called Baizi. Could it be you? Chabot's eyes widened. It's not hard to tell from the holes of the previous boys. Baizi is also a new trainer who debuted this year. Therefore, the age is no more than 15 or 16 years old at most. And a few years ago, he was only in his early 10 years, right? In your early 10 years, you have discovered a thesis proposition that affects the world, and participated in it, becoming an assistant to complete this research. This is so. Ah, it's me. Baizi's expression was also a little weird. but after a little recollection, he finally nodded in response to this. Although he indulged in the mystery of the womb for more than 10 years, he failed to rely on foresight to do something big. But the spiritual power of the 2 lives, as well as the memory fragments that flash in my mind from time to time, let him show the characteristics of maturity and early wisdom since he was a child. Otherwise, if he is really mediocre, he will not be able to gain the friendship of Qinglu, the arrogant monster with eyes above the top. You know, in addition to himself, there is also Kai, who he regards as a rival, even if it is his twin brother. Xiao Mao, it is also difficult to get into his eyes. Perhaps it is precisely because of this neglect from childhood that he has created the fragile and sensitive nerves under the proud appearance of Xiao Mao. Think of this. Bai Zi shook his head indifferently. Afterwards, he stopped going around in circles, but simply went straight to the subject and said, Mr. Xiaobo, I wonder if you believe that the duck-billed fire dragon has the potential to evolve again. At this time, a group of 3 people have already circled back to the front yard of Xiaobo Hot Spring Hotel. Xiaobo, who had just welcomed the 2 of Bai Zi into the door, heard the words, but he did not ask as surprised as Bai Zi thought. Instead, he was very excited. With his eyes shining, he grabbed Bai Zi's arm, and his voice showed obvious excitement. Little brother, have you also discovered the evolutionary potential hidden in the duck-billed fire dragon gene in 1.7? Also, Bai Zi was taken aback. But Xiaobo couldn't wait, so he dragged Bai Zi directly and walked towards the corner of the room full of pendants. Natsu followed closely behind. Then, when the 3 came to the corner and stood still, Xiaobo stretched out his hand and dragged the volcano model pendant. Immediately, the sound of a clattering machine came out. Bai Zi only felt a slight tremor under his feet, and then the floor began to deform and slowly fell downward. Chapter 262, Communication Evolution, Duck-billed Yanlong. For full order. After the duck-billed fire dragon fell into the bottleneck period, I made a lot of efforts, but it seemed that there was always a layer of shackles that limited it. Later, as I went deeper into the genetic level, I found that the duck-billed fire dragon's genes were not completely locked into stability. Form. Do you know what that means? On the elevator platform that was 3 to 5 meters square, Xiaobo sat on the side of the sofa that was guarded in a ring, looking at Bai Zi on the opposite side. The stability of the elf gene means that the evolution of the elf will come to an end. Bai Zi did not panic, and talked eloquently. If the gene is not completely locked into a stable form, it will naturally mean the duck-billed fire dragon is not the final evolutionary form. Xiaobo couldn't help but replied. I am ecstatic to come to such a conclusion. This is not only an opportunity for the old man to go further, but also a major discovery of the evolutionary system. Rubbing the high-temperature ball in his hand, Xiaobo's expression gradually calmed down, and a flash of reminiscence flashed in his eyes. Unfortunately, although we have come to this conclusion and made preliminary assumptions and demonstrations, without exception, all successes are lost. Oh 2. The normal means of evolution failed, and I changed my mind. Perhaps, the genetic characteristics of the duck-billed fire dragon tend to be inert. What specific conditions are required, or is it a specific item that stimulates the activity of genes to trigger evolution? Hearing this, Bai Zi nodded secretly. Xiaobo was in the right direction. However, it is different from the inert gene elves that usually need to use special environmental props or evolution stones to directly stimulate evolution. Duck-billed fire dragons belong to the species that require both props and human intervention to evolve. And the props it needs to use also need to be artificially synthesized to complete the production. With so many preconditions, coupled with the uncertainty of human intervention methods, without enough number of experiments and a little bit of coincidence, I am afraid that I will not be able to find the correct method even if I want to break my head. Even Dr. Yamanashi, the authority on elf evolution. It was also a coincidence of a wrong operation. Only then did I discover the special evolutionary method of connection and exchange from the body of the electric shock monster. And Xiaobo's next words did not exceed Bai Zi's expectations. The elves with inert genes need specific evolution stones to stimulate inactive evolution genes to evolve. The duck-billed fire dragon is a pure fire elves, but the fire stone has no effect on it. But I was not disappointed. Because the evolution of elves often brings changes in attributes, and some require specific environments. Trial and error, this is a process that every researcher needs to go through. Shabo looked calm. This kind of willpower that keeps falling and getting up again, but still maintains a calm attitude and continues to move forward, makes Baizi greatly admired. Even though he was a trainer or a research scholar, Shabo failed to climb to the top. But the two all go hand in hand to the extent that they are second only to this. It's definitely not something ordinary people can do. With a click one by one, the platform stopped in a cabin, and then the hatch opened. Under the guidance of Shabo, several people walked into an experimental hall with bright white lights. Pure white color scheme. The ground is all paved with alloy floors. Rows of experimental machines piled up this small laboratory, which was a little crowded. Evolution stones of different attributes, various props, and strange objects, I tried them one by one. In the end, the hard work paid off. I actually found the evolution gene of the duck-billed fire dragon in the eruption of the Red Lotus volcano in my hometown to react. Items. Shabo's expression was, "The mountains are heavy and the river is full of doubts and there is no way. The willows are dark and the flowers are bright and yet another village." It was a piece of lava fire with a very complex composition. After several repetitions, decomposition, combination, and refinement, I finally made this thing. While talking, Shabo came to the main control platform on the side to do some operations. Kaba, Misha's column rose from one side of the platform, accompanied by a spurt of aerosol, a shoebox sized, with a circular vacuum inside, and a red square box shining with lava luster was revealed in front of everyone's eyes. Lava amplifier. A box that stores huge lava energy. Baizi glanced at it and determined that this thing is indeed a lava amplifier, and it is no wonder that the duck-billed fire dragon reacted to it. The duck-billed fire dragon's reaction to this thing is quite intense, but I don't know why. No matter how intense the reaction is, how active the evolutionary genes are, the duck-billed fire dragon has never been able to complete the evolution. Shabo sighed softly, took off the lava amplifier and handed it to Baizi, his eyes filled with anticipation. He was also not sure how well Baizi knew about the evolution of duck-billed fire dragons. But Shinado evolves first. After Baizi took the initiative to bring up this topic, Shabo was old and mature, how could he not know what Baizi meant? And since there is a plan. Then, facing Shabo's earnest gaze, Baizi didn't say much. There was an elf replacement device on the side of the laboratory. He decided to let Shabo see it. Baizi first asked Shabo to release the duck-billed fire dragon, and then let it hold the lava amplifier and be retracted back into the Pokeball. Then, he placed the Gao 417 warm ball with the duck-billed fire dragon on the right entrance of the elf replacement device, took out a new vacant luxury ball and put it in the entrance and exit on the other side, and then pulled down the replacement device directly. Switch. Buzz with the sound of the machine running. Immediately, white light bloomed on the two floating Pokeballs. After a while, the white light disappeared, and the Pokeball fell again. Baizi got up immediately, stretched out his hand, took out the luxurious ball on the left, and handed it back to Shabo. "Shabo Pavilion Master, come and see the brand new duck-billed fire dragon." No, it should be called duck-billed fire dragon. Duck-billed flame dragon. Shabo muttered the name to himself. He took a deep breath. After calming down a little, he pressed the switch button of the luxury ball in his hand, slightly trembling. White light flashed. A red human standing elf with a fat body and arms like huge barrels at both ends appeared. Wu tilde. Chapter 263. Dragons do not live with snakes. All staff assembled. For full order. 21 is a sea channel formed by the arrangement of natural water reefs. A large number of high and low jumbled reefs line the sides. Forget about ships. It is difficult for even a larger water-riding elves to cross. However, this naturally formed middle channel is very smooth. There are almost no reefs blocked in the middle. The only few sandbar islands are scattered, like the embellishment on the waterway. And this unique waterway is also connecting the Lava Island group to the north of Honglian Island and the estuary of Haoshan to the south of Junshin Town. The connected waterway can directly lead to the water-type elves breeding area in the rear courtyard of Dr. Ogi's Research Institute. It can be said that it is a very convenient water channel for residents of Junshin Town to travel. And this moment. After saying goodbye to Xiaobo and leaving Baizi on Red Lotus Island, he happened to be in this waterway. Riding Laplace, and Natsi walked leisurely in the cool sea breeze. From time to time, individual reef and sandbar islands pass by. These islands are all made of sand and stones floating on the sea. Except for the short-term bird elves or water-type amphibious elves who will come to rest ashore, not even a trace of life can be seen. In general, the trip to Red Lotus Island can be regarded as a complete merit. Obtained the 7th Crimson Badge, Shinado successfully advanced to the champion level, and activated the power of evolution, and obtained the Super Shinado Y form of special attack, established a friendship with Xiaobo. And after helping Xiaobo complete the long-cherished wish of the evolution of the duck-billed fire dragon, he got quite a rich gift. A fire source stone mine that is enough to decompose 20 or 30 fire stones, and a heaven and earth treasure that can deepen the understanding of fire attribute factors. Flame marrow, a specially refined touch-dissolving fire ore spar. And, Xiaobo's training notes on the potential abilities of elves, especially the potential abilities of fire elves. The first 3 items alone are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. The touch-melting fire ore spar is an upgraded version of the touch-melting fire ore that Baizi had been thinking about from the very beginning. Although only the size of a palm. But it takes about 20 cubic meters to extract so many contact-dissolving fire spar, and Xiaobo gives it 5 pieces. This weight, let alone adding fire resistance to a little guy with iron dumbbells, even 3 are enough. All 3 things are invaluable. It can be seen that Xiaobo's actions are generous. But to say the most valuable, we also need to count the training notes given by Xiaobo. The extreme heat of coal, turtle, golden iron, the high attack and sensitivity of flaming horses, electric light and flint, the powerful physique of duck-billed fire dragons, and the precise micro-manipulation of fire factors. Any of these. They will not be slightly weaker than the secret combat techniques and tactics in the hands of the 4 heavenly kings of Kanto. Putting it in the Yulong family, the world's top trainer family, it is definitely a top-level training manual that can be passed down to the family. It is absolutely priceless. It can only be said that Xiaobo is a close friend who grew up with Dr. Damu, Bolu, mother-in-law Chrysanthemum, and Master Steel. Although because of the 2 blossoms, he seems to be a lot of unremarkable among this group of friends. But since ancient times, dragons do not live with snakes. Xiaoboruo specializes in 1 item. Whether it is a trainer or academic research, I am afraid that it is not inferior to those old friends of his. Baizi, how is this sand island? Natsi's voice suddenly interrupted Baizi's thoughts, and the delicate body twisted in her arms. The wonderful touch made Baizi's heart sway slightly. Set your mind. He raised his eyes and looked in the direction of Natsi's fingers. This is a small edge island enclosed by the trapezoidal coast of another large sand island. Backed by dense rocks. There is only 3 or 5 wingspans between it and the large sand island, and the concealment is good. Generally, residents of the 2 places will not come here. Just here. After making a decision, Baizi raised his hand and patted Laplace's back. Laplace. Wu tilde. With a soft moan, Laplace slid on all 4s, accelerated, and turned into the coast of this small sand island. When he came to the shore, Baizi directly hugged Nazi up, and in the sound of the other party's exclamation, he jumped over a dozen feet and landed on the soft sand. After turning around twice, she left a deep kiss on Natsi's lips with a pretty red face, and then she squatted down slightly and put her down. Many people think that traveling alone in the elf world is very good, and carrying a woman is completely cumbersome. That only shows that they are still young. Long night, long morning light. Whether it is green grass or babbling streams, mountains and jungles or sandy islands and reefs, or even flying with the power of mind, straight into the sky and sweating. There is a different kind of interest in this. It is difficult for Bai Zi to speak clearly with those straight male trainers. Well, so far, let's get down to business. Before heading to Junxin town, or taking a detour to finish the vibrant gym, Bai Zi planned to stay in this hidden sand island for a while. Now he has accumulated a lot of various props and treasures. It was a rush before. The second reason is that the elves in his hands are still in the period of potential excavation. In order to maximize their utility, he is naturally not too anxious. Free now. The little guys have almost reached the bottleneck period, and naturally it is time. Everyone, come out. Beer tilde. Sana tilde. Ah tilde. As the elves were released by Bai Zi, all kinds of different roars sounded on this sand island. Big Needle Bee, Zoroark, Wind Speed Dog, Shinado, Iron Dumbbell, and Laplace cruising on the coast. The 6 handhelds carefully selected by Bai Zi. Machado, Zeraora, Kangshong and Black Flash crack the empty seat. Eudemons and Legendary Elves. Team Doctor, Auspicious Eggs. The best 7th man Ibrahimovic. And, the only player from the second team in Bai Zi's hands now, as a pure and cute little fire monkey. A total of 13 elves were released. P.S. Natsy's wife is picturesque tilde. Chapter 264. The Legendary Force, Swallowing the Crystal of the Evil Law. For full order. Once released, a kind of elves will have their own body and action. People with withdrawn personalities like the giant Stinger and Zeraora almost invariably distance themselves from the group, floating or sitting cross-legged to one side, appearing to be a little out of gregarious. Shinado and Zoroark approached Bai Zi's side immediately, their eyes met, and sparks flickered faintly. The Iron Dumbbells came to play beside Laplace. The Wind Speed Dog crawls on the ground at will. The little fire monkey on the side knelt down beside him, as if he was asking for some advice. Ibrahimovic was busy controlling the attribute factors in his body. Although he was a little unaccustomed to the food that seldom came out, the first time he saw Zoroark, his nostrils like a whistle, and he rushed towards Soroyak like a madman. Rourke was directly pinched by the back of Fate's neck and imprisoned. Seeing this, Gili Dan, who was comforting one by one and trying to win over everyone's relationship, hurriedly stepped on his little feet and ran over, begging for Ibrahimovic. And Machado only showed half of his head, shrank in the shadow under Bai Zi's feet, and looked at the sky with a dull expression, not knowing what he was thinking. Oh, yes, and little Lugia. Wu tilde. It is difficult for the little guy to see the sea at ordinary times. After being intimate with Bai Zi for a while, he jumped into the water with a cheer, and played with Laplace and Iron Dumbbells. 417 Then came the empty seats of Kangshong and Black Flash. How to say it is a top legend. After the two appeared on the stage, they really wanted to throw other elves more than one street. Kangshong stood against the wind, looking into the distance. His slender and huge body was like a stone sculpture, golden pupils, revealing a kind of speechless loneliness. That brilliant, simply. Then there is the Black Flash crack empty seat. The sinuous and slender pitch-black dragon body crawls above the air, as if the void under its claws is as real. The dark red dragon eyes are half-dazed. Lazy air. However, the awe-inspiring dragon might not disperse, turning the air into a distorted cloud, looming around him. Almost all the other elves in the field will subconsciously devote some of their attention to these two top legends. Different expressions flashed in their eyes. After all, the two of them are the targets of most enterprising elves and even some phantom beasts and lower-ranking legends. Black Flash crack empty seat also swept his gaze over the Big Needle Bee and the Iron Dumbbell, intentionally or unintentionally. Familiar breath, but much weaker. However, Bai Zi has a lot of secrets. Although there are doubts, she is not a person who likes to explore. The appearance of Kang Shang and Black Flash cracking empty seats made the scene a little quiet for a while. Especially between them. The opposing air machine that was almost placed on the bright side made a sense of urgency in the air inexplicably. Papa, Bai Zi clapped his palms and said, these two are new partners, Kang Shang and Kai Kongzai, let's say hello to each other. After the words fell, the air was silent for a moment. Lucky Tilda. In the end, Gili Egg was the first to break the deadlock, and the ladies won by one sound and Black Flash cracked the empty seat ? Then there was Kang Sheng, and the Wind Speed Dog and other elves. Finally, there is the Black Flash crack empty seat. Although it was not salty or bland, it was because he gave Bai Zi this face and got to know each other with all the elves including Kang Shang. The atmosphere eased a little. The dignified but not arrogant Kang Shang quickly mingled with the other elves. Although the Black Flash cracked empty seat looked like no one was allowed to enter, he had the bonus of helping Bai Zi before, and he was not very affectionate with other elves. It's pretty decent. It's just that they both greeted each other. The sense of estrangement between them is still very obvious. It seems that it will be difficult to live in harmony for a while. However, Bai Zi also knew that this was not an overnight effort, so he did not force them to respect and love each other immediately. After getting along for a long time, coupled with my own efforts, I think I will slowly eliminate these barriers. It's just that he didn't find it. When Kang Shang and Black Flash crack empty seat were in full force before, a different kind of longing seemed to rise in the eyes of the little fire monkey who saw this. That is, from this day on, the original hard work and simplicity the little fire monkey, gradually embarked on the road to force the king. Of course, this is a later story. Now, looking at the elves, Bai Zi's patrolling gaze finally settled on Zoroark. As the first one to follow him, he was also one of the 6 elves that he recognized as holding an ace. Apart from the fact that the iron dumbbell was still young, it also had the potential for evolution. The strength of Zoroark and Laplace has been greatly thrown away. Especially after reaching the quasi-celestial king, Laplace gradually deepened his understanding of the law, and his strength changed almost every day. And the increase in strength leads to the deepening of the understanding of the law. Such a virtuous cycle. Laplace's strength has gradually begun to distance himself from Zoroha. It can be said that Zoroark is almost unable to keep up with the pace of the first echelon. But all this will change again from today. Crystallization of the law of the first level god. Maybe Zoroark will overtake the corner in one breath. The 10,000 zhang tall buildings are on the ground, and the city has already been attacked at the stage of solid foundation. Then, it's time for you to take off. Bai Zi held a purple-black diamond-shaped crystal in his hand, the corner of his mouth raised slightly, and handed the crystal of the law of evil in his hand to the enchanting red-gray fox. Zoroark, this is the crystal of the law of evil, it will make you become stronger. Quote. Zoroark's expression was startled at first, and then after seeing Bai Zi's encouraging decapitation, the result was this purple-black diamond crystal. Start with crystals. Zoroark's scarlet eyes suddenly flashed a purple-black streamer. Then, it seemed to have received some revelation, and it shoved this evil law crystal into its mouth. Bai Zi was surprised to see this. But in the next second, a deep purple-black streamer suddenly rose up, completely wrapping Zoroark. A beam of light reaching the sky was formed, and the whole island was illuminated by a strange purple light. Chapter 265, Power Brand. Devouring the venue. For full order. Whoa! Suddenly, with a screeching scream that stunned the sky and restrained the clouds, the billowing viscous purple-black streamer suddenly spread its wings, turned into a bird and roared wildly, causing the evil elements in the air to rush out. Countless the purple-black streamer suddenly filled the 4 corners. This is... Bai Zi's pupils shrank suddenly, before saying anything. Next second. Whoosh! A dazzling golden streamer flashed away, and the black bird-shaped energy in the shape of Lugia suddenly collapsed, the holy sword. Immediately afterwards, the serpentine figure of the Black Flash cracked the empty seat. Like a breeze blowing past. In an instant, the surging evil factor was directly smoothed out, restricted to Zoroark's body again, and slowly turned into a sphere to carry Zoroark into the air. All is well. Kang Xiang and Black Flash cracked the empty seat to look at each other, and the atmosphere was not as antagonistic as it was at the beginning. But Bai Zi didn't have time to pay attention to this at this time. Under the gaze, except for an extra state of transformation, there is no other change in Zoroark at all. Don't worry. The beautiful voice of the Black Flash cracked empty seat resounded in an ethereal manner. The crystal of this evil law is unexpectedly pure. Just now, it was just because of the brand of the opponent's power. There are only advantages and no disadvantages. She said it well. The awe-inspiring telepathy also sounded. At least 90% of the evil law remaining in this law crystal has been retained, and the spirituality has not been lost. It may allow this Zoroark to inherit its exclusive characteristics or exclusive skills. As for just now, it's just a little vision caused by the overflow of the law. I took the initiative to split the spirituality of the law of escape, and the splitting seat followed the energy factor of the law of escape. Thinking about it, this Zoroark will definitely inherit the crystal of this law to the greatest extent. Kang's voice was very calm. But in her eyes, a strange color flashed involuntarily. The law residue is more than 90%, and it is so spiritual. There is no doubt that this is the near fall of an evil beast of at least a first-level god domain. You can get such a thing. My partner has a lot of secrets. Is that so? Bai Zi breathed a sigh of relief, but then he couldn't help frowning a little. Because if Zoroark really inherited a certain exclusive characteristic or skill of Dark Lugia from this evil law crystal, the exclusive skills of air blasting are okay to say. He has also seen the air blasting of the evil system. The power of up to 100 is not bad. It is different from the powerful penetrating power and corrosiveness of the ordinary Lugia air blasting. But the exclusive feature, Evil Bite. When it comes to abilities, being able to replenish and increase one's own physical strength and energy level according to the proportion and magnitude of swallowing life forms. Such abilities are indeed powerful enough. But, it's also evil enough. Not to mention that Bai Zi is not the kind of person who has no scruples. Even if he is, isn't it safer and more reassuring than this bloody and cruel method? However, nothing can be deflected by his will. He can't directly interrupt the crystallization process of Zoroark's fusion law for this reason. Moreover, even if he really got this feature, which was a bit tasteless to him, he would use it as a whiteboard plugin. Time passed minute by minute in Bai Zi's mind. As the thick purple-black streamer gradually overflowed, it was gathered up by Zoroark, who was slowly landing. Everything was calm again. How can the breath be so restrained? Looking at Zoroark, there was hardly much change in front of him, except that the hair was brighter, and there was a faint purple-black fire lotus mark on his forehead. Bai Zi frowned slightly. He has superpowers, so he also has a certain sense of the evil factors that surged in Zoroark's body. This level of restraint and oppression is at least the king level. Open black lens bracket race. Zoroark close black lens bracket. Attribute, evil. Characteristic, illusion, exclusive. Level, Heavenly King Advanced, level 68, 95 100ths, increasing. Potential, level 3 God, transforming. HP, 60, attack, 105, defense, 60, special attack, 125, 120, special defense, 60, speed, 105. Exclusive skills. Dark Blast, evil devouring field, continuously releasing evil elements to form a special field. All elves in the field will continue to reduce their physical strength and replenish it to Zoroark, and the power of evil elements will also increase. Open black lens bracket skill, slightly. Close black lens bracket. Genetic skills, imitate, supernatural power. Props, black eye sockets, crystals of evil law, absorbing. Open black lens bracket status, perfect close black lens bracket. Law comprehension, evil 75%, in progress. Introduction, extremely talented. His mastery of illusion is far better than his peers, and he can even achieve certain substantial damage by deceiving the various senses of humans and other elves. As expected, his strength is almost infinitely close to the peak of the king. And this level is still growing. The potential is also changing, and has reached the level of a third-level god. The sixth dimensional has not changed, and the crystal of the law has not been completely absorbed. And the comprehension of the law, it can be said that one step to the sky, directly entering the domain of the second-level god, reaching 75%. You must know that the law of the ghost system of Marshadow, the second-level god forcibly promoted by the synchronization experience card, is not enough. Only 30%. And then there's this extra special skill. Evil Devouring Venue. Looking at the skill's utility on the attribute panel, Baizi nodded with satisfaction. I didn't expect to mutate into a field-type exclusive skill. This effect, needless to say for a single unit, is simply a magical skill in group battles. Ah, Zoroark, try the effect of the Devouring Field. After thinking about it, Baizi immediately ordered Zoroark to try a move against King Shang, wanting to test the strength and effectiveness of this skill. King Shang, please trouble you. King Shang nodded involuntarily, not because of his excellent resistance to evil elements, and the gap in strength also made him not worry about being injured at all. Not to mention a field skill, even if it is a strong attack, I am afraid that it will not even be able to leave traces on her fur. Wu tilde. Zoroark's eyes roamed around Baizi and Kang Zheng's body, and a faint light flashed in his eyes. In an instant, a ring rose from the bottom of its feet, twisted into an ellipse, and accurately contained the sound of blue. Oh. Baizi raised his eyebrows. Can you still control the shape of the field? However, King Shing, who had an indifferent attitude at first, suddenly changed his face after being encircled by the evil devouring field. Huh, this is... Several. Chapter 266. Master the Fire Elf Form. Tucson changes, a blessing in disguise. What's wrong? Baizi noticed the change in Kang Zheng's expression and hurriedly asked. King Shang did not answer Baizi's question immediately, but gave Zoroark a complicated look, feeling the effect of this skill that gave him a strong sense of sight. After pondering for a long time, he responded with an inexplicable tone, this skill can forcefully plunder physical strength. Although because of the big difference in grades, for me, the effect is almost minimal. But with this level of plundering and pulling, if you use all of it on a single opponent with a similar level to your own, I'm afraid it won't take long before the opponent's physical strength can be completely drained. Of course. King Shang added, if you want to achieve the maximum effect, I am afraid that there are no small requirements for distance, range, and concentration. Words fall. I didn't see any movement from King Shang, and with a crisp sound, the 417 inches vicious force field surrounding her was instantly dispelled. Huh. Zoroark's expression loosened, and after letting out a sigh of turbidity, he nodded towards Baizi, who was looking at him. Is that so? Baizi touched his chin and pondered a little, but he didn't seem too disappointed. After all, in terms of utility alone, the skill of devouring the field is already abnormal enough. Not to mention the increase of the field itself to the skills of the same attribute, it can also be accompanied by a considerable degree of forced energy, and its strength is almost the same for the ultimate in continuous absorption. Such a powerful exclusive trick. What could he not be satisfied with? After calling Zoroark to the side to familiarize himself with the skills, Baizi turned to look at the other elves. He glanced past Ibrahimovic, who was curled up on the sand and was immersed in the perception of fire attribute factors alone. Immediately, he raised his eyebrows slightly. Then, he immediately walked to Ibrahimovic's side, squatted down, and took out a transparent test tube bottle with orange-red viscous liquid from his backpack. Bang! He pulled out the cork and brought it close to the tip of the little guy's nose. Sniff, sniff one by one, boy tilde. The tip of his nose loosened, and Ibrahimovic jumped up almost like a thunderbolt. With a small head stretched and shrunk, he directly took the test tube bottle in Baizi's hand. Gudong tilde. Head up, sigh. In the blink of an eye, Baizi was almost devoured by Ibrahimovic. Bu yi, this Nima. With a sound of breath, Baizi, who finally snatched the test tube bottle from Ibrahimovic's mouth, looked at the bottom of the bottle with only a little bit of earth core flame marrow left, and couldn't help twitching the corner of his mouth. As a treasure of heaven and earth that can deepen the understanding of fire attribute factors, the earth core flame marrow is naturally mainly used on Ibrahimovic, who has multi-attribute evolution. But Ibrahimovic's adaptability to fire attributes is not low, so he doesn't need to drink so much. Luxurious, 2/3 is not enough. In the end, good guy, it's boring. If it weren't for him being strong. I'm afraid there won't be even the bottom of the bottle. Baizi is also going to leave a little for the little fire monkey as an ingredient for the medicinal diet. Rub it. Carefully put away less than 1/10 of the remaining geocentric flame marrow. Baizi looked at Ibrahimovic, who burped a full burp at Meme, and couldn't help rolling his eyes. Seriously. This is himself. If it were someone else, even Shabo himself would be reluctant to let his elves drink like this. You must know that because this thing is not about pounds, not even grams, it is sold for drops. Ibrahimovic's mouth, at least for the 8-digit alliance currency, is everyone's heartache. Baizi rolled his eyes. Seeing that the remaining amount is generally enough to prepare food for little fire monkey, he didn't say a word. Ordinary trainers may have already started to make it spit out. However, why is drinking and not drinking the same? Looking at Ibrahimovic, who pretended to be comprehending with the fire attribute energy crystal the size of a fingernail like he was stealing the bell, a big question mark appeared on Baizi's forehead. Just when he was about to use the power of Baizi to investigate. Boy tilde. With a soft moan, a flame suddenly rose from Ibrahimovic's body. In the flames, a pure white luster flashed, and quickly completely wrapped Ibrahimovic. It's done. Under Baizi's gaze, Ibrahimovic in the ray of light quickly began to transform. Compared with the previous lay elves, this time's body has not changed much. Soon, the light gradually dissipated, revealing Ibrahimovic's new attitude at this time. At least 3 times more physical changes, fiery red skin, except for the more fluffy and thick cream-colored fluff. Overall, it is like an enlarged version of Ibrahimovic. This is the fire elf, Ibrahimovic's evolutionary form of the fire attribute. Regardless of its handsome and cute appearance, the fire sac in its body can create an ultra-high temperature flame of up to 1700 degrees. Fire spirit. True to its name. Buoy. Just when Baizi was about to check the data of Ibrahimovic in the form of the fire elf, suddenly, accompanied by Ibrahimovic's painful roar, in the protruding white light, Ibrahimovic returned to his original form again. The thorns and coaxes, crash, electric light, flame, and water flow, the 3 attribute factors of different colors almost turned into essence, rising from Ibrahimovic's body. The forms of thunder spirits, fire spirits, and water spirits are entangled with each other. And then, the prompt sound of the system immediately sounded from Baizi's ear. Your Ibrahimovic has successfully controlled the fire attribute form. The fire attribute adaptability has reached 100%. A little gain, level +3, acquired skill, flash charge. At present mastered attributes, electricity, fire. Affected by the completely stable electrical property and fire property factor, the water property factor is autonomously excited. Ding! Ibrahimovic was forced to activate the water attribute form. This is. Baizi was taken aback by the sudden change. But he still reacted immediately. He quickly took out the aqua blue irregular crystal, the water attribute energy spar from his backpack, and pressed it directly on the top door of Ibrahimovic. Although Baizi's speed is very fast, when he quickly withdraws his palm from the messy mixed attribute factors. The whole arm is still smeared with blood. On top of it, there are scorched marks, burns, and some white and swollen parts. Lucky. Gili egg trotted over in distress, aromatherapy, life drops, healing fluctuations. The colorful healing skills were constantly thrown out of its small hands, and the rich healing factors almost wrapped Baizi's palm into a silkworm chrysalis. The pain gradually disappeared, and the cool and comfortable feeling continued to come. Baizi didn't care. 1.7 feet's eyes were still fixed on Ibrahimovich's body. Moment. Ellipsis ellipsis ellipsis. Your Ibrahimovich water attribute factor is extremely active, and the adaptability continues to increase 1%, 5%, 10%. 100%, slightly gained, level +3, acquired skill, water cannon. Open black lens bracket at present mastered attributes. Electricity, fire, water close black lens bracket accompanied by the system prompt sound. Seeing that the messy and entangled energy factors gradually calmed down, and Ibrahimovich's body once again raised the familiar light of evolution, Baizi breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay, it's a blessing in disguise. P.S. Fire Elf Personification tilde. Chapter 267. Free transformation comparable to fantasy transformation, attribute spar pendant. Ibrahimovich, use flare charge. In front of the reef group on the back of the island, with Baizi's soft drink, the radiant Ibrahimovich jumped up and jumped up. Then, accompanied by the burning flame coat, he slammed into the front of the thick reef group. The raging flames scorched the rocks into pitch black, and the impact of the impact caused the reef that has resisted the waves for years to be full of cracks. This power is already impressive. After all the reefs on the back of the island have been polished by the waves over the years, and the density is amazing. It is the general diamond rock, and its toughness is nothing more than that. Therefore, to be able to play such an effect, it is enough to see the power of the flash charge in the form of the EV fire spirit. However, what Baizi wants to test is not the power of the skill. Go on, 100,000 volts. Boy tilde. Ibrahimovich in the form of fire elf turned and fell back, and the white light covering his whole body reappeared. When he landed, Ibrahimovich had directly transformed into the form of thunder elf. The thorns pierced the clear sky one by one, and the swift thunder gushed out from the thunder elf's whole body. It turned into a strong electric current that zigzagged in midair, spanned several meters in the blink of an eye, and bombarded the reef. Moment. The bursting current will illuminate the surrounding light. The scorched cracks on the reef are deeper, and the faint red glow reveals amazing heat, and the water vapor under the reef also rises. Right now, Aurora, tail. Boy tilde. In the white light, Ibrahimovich in the form of a thunder elf was deformed again, with a blue body, a long merman-like tail and fins like ears on the head. Ibrahimovich, who transformed into a water elf, let out a long moan, and an extremely cold beam of light suddenly spewed out, completely freezing the stone. Then one by one, Ibrahimovich in the form of a water elf jumped directly into the water, disappeared without a trace like dissolved water, and suddenly sprang out from under the reef, and the mermaid long tail wrapped in the water whipped towards him. With a rumbling sound, the ice-covered reefs suddenly shattered. Well done. Looking at Ibrahimovich, who was galloping back from midair by lightning, fell to the ground and returned to his original form again, Baizi compared his thumbs. Boy tilde. Ibrahimovich also raised his head with a humming look on his face, looking very reluctant. To this day, it has basically gotten rid of the defects brought about by experiments after completing the three-element integration, fully adapting and mastering the three elements of thunder, fire, and water that exist in the body. The strength has also reached the level of the high-level gymnasium, level 45, 81/100. Moreover, its exclusive ability multi-attribute evolution can completely make it seamless and free to transform freely in the four forms of Ibrahimovich and thunder, fire and water elves. Without the slightest delay, it can be said that it changes in seconds. Although it can't be compared in terms of types, it can completely match the dream transformation skills in terms of fluency. As for the next step, Baizi is not ready to let Ibrahimovich go through the next stage of attribute fitness training immediately. First, there is a lack of adaptive factors left by the experiment, and it will take a long time to complete the adaptive transformation of other attributes. I really want to spend it all here. After completing all the 8 known attribute form changes, Baizi estimates that if there is no adventure, then Ibrahimovic will take at least a few years of work. This way. Even if Ibrahimovic wanted to, Baizi thought it was too unfair to him. Second, the so-called one-step approach to civil and martial arts. Such a long-term retreat in itself is very frustrating, not to mention that it has been nested in a small pokeball for years and months. Again, the promotion of elves is a multifaceted development. Levels and abilities are just one of them. Basic physique, training and combat are also essential. Therefore, now I announce that your concentrated retreat training focusing on attribute adaptability will officially end today. Next, you live, train and fight with everyone as normal. As for the progress of attribute adaptability, just by chance. Saying that, Baizi squatted down, rubbed Ibrahimovic's furry little head, and hung a spar pendant on the little guy's swollen neck. The round pendant is clockwise inlaid with 4 attribute spar of superpower, evil, ice and grass, and there is also a recess for the installation of fairy spar. This thing Baizi has long been in EPUB. After completing the training of electrical attribute adaptability, the preparations have already begun. The overall use is soft gold with good conductivity. After the 4 attribute spar are embedded, wearing it on the body can subtly make Ibrahimovic's body adapt to these 4 attributes one by one. Subtle changes like this are naturally incomparable to the previous training effect, and the progress is probably more than 108,000 miles away. However, Baizi is not lacking in combat power now. And now that Ibrahimovic's flaws have been made up, it's natural to make the little guy feel comfortable. Why do you need to force it? 417 inches boy tilde. Hearing this, Ibrahimovic reached out and fiddled with the pendant on his chest twice, and immediately rubbed against Baizi's legs intimately. Then, before Baizi interacted with it, he ran to Zoroark's side and showed off. Baizi shook his head. Resolving Ibrahimovic's genetic defect is another concern for him. Next, there are iron dumbbells. Touching fire ore can increase the resistance to fire attribute moves, but the characteristics of fire ore itself will not change. Again, increasing fire resistance will inevitably affect the deep power of genes. In this way, is it possible to successfully break the internal circulation of iron dumbbells and let it be released from the circulation of the body and energy, so as to successfully evolve? There have been a lot of precedents for the smelting fire ore being eaten by the steel elves, and it would not cause any harm to the iron dumbbells. In this way. Or give it a try. P.S. Water Elf Personification tilde. Chapter 268. Accumulated and Reborn. Iron Dumbbell Evolution. Iron dumbbells. If he wanted to do it, Baizi immediately took a spar of molten fire ore from his backpack and waved to the iron dumbbell not far away. The iron dumbbells that were playing with Laplace and little Lugia swayed and turned around. A small, round head embedded in the ball and socket joint at the front of its torso. Whispering around. Very naive, he aimed the one red eye at the fiery red crystal on Baizi's hand. Terry tilde. Bang one by one, the sound of the air being torn apart came out. Next second. Baizi only felt a flower in front of him, and the iron dumbbell disappeared from his sight. And then, accompanied by a strange touch. Turning his head, Baizi suddenly stared at the iron dumbbell that had swallowed the spar, including his palm, and hung on his wrist. To be frank, Baizi used to be curious about what the teeth of iron dumbbells look like. It can chew gold, chew iron, and swallow rocks. Now he knows. The densely packed, do not know how many layers, completely wrapping his palm, like inner molars all over his mouth. With such a density, what else can't be chewed? Think of this. An inexplicable chill suddenly shot up from the spine to the heavenly spirit cover. Baizi hurriedly threw his hand, and threw the iron dumbbell with his palm that kept squirming his mouth down. Then, the burning white thought power flashed, and the saliva on the palm was removed. Thankfully, the iron dumbbells stayed strong. Otherwise, his fleshy palm will be directly minced into pieces in an instant. This guy. The black line on Baizi's forehead looked at the iron dumbbell, and for a while, he didn't know what to say to this foodie. And iron dumbbells don't care. Baizi pulled out his palm. It immediately exerted force, ka-chi-chi, and swallowed the touch-melting fire ore crystals in its mouth with a happy look on its face. The hard spar is like a broad bean in the mouth of the iron dumbbell. The sound is crisp. But it didn't affect it chewing and smashing this thing like a snack at all, and it didn't take a while to swallow it clean. The little red lines are looming and climbing all over the body. Terry, R tilde. And the iron dumbbell, as if he didn't realize it, went around Baizi's body, arched left, rubbed right, and acted coquettishly towards Baizi with a longing look. Obviously, he didn't eat enough. Baizi blinked. The power of exploration swept away. It was found that there was no problem with the iron dumbbells, except for the addition of fire attribute resistance improving in the status column. Therefore, he took out another piece, and immediately pulled away the painful iron dumbbell on the top of his waist and abdomen. Okay, you want to kill me. Here it is. Done. Just throw it away. Terry tilde. The little guy was instantly satisfied. He rushed up like a frisbee, turned his body upside down, and swallowed the molten fire ore spar thrown out by Baizi with a single claw. Kacha, a crackling sound, with the constant chewing of the extra dumbbells. In addition to being happy, it flew in S in midair for a while, followed by a complicated B shape. The familiar red pattern climbed and loomed again, more complex and darker. But the power of Baizi passed by. But it was still the same as before. $2 is not enough. Baizi was speechless, but he quickly took out the last piece and threw it at the little guy without waiting for the iron dumbbell to ask for it. This is his last touch-melting fire ore spar. If not, Baizi has to consider whether this thing has any effect on the evolution of iron dumbbells. Terry tilde. The iron dumbbell caught it, and the complex red stripes almost completely wrapped the little guy. And followed. It was accompanied by the sound of swallowing and chewing. A dazzling white light suddenly emerged from the whole body of the iron dumbbell. In the light, the iron dumbbell was continuously deformed, bulging up like a column-like body, turning into a disc-like flying saucer, with 2 arms. Shaped columns also extend from both sides. It's done. Baizi's eyes lit up. He didn't expect that this little guy has evolved so quietly, with a foolish head. He even evolved directly after eating. And this moment. The light faded away, and the brand new iron dumbbells, should be called metal monsters. The appearance of the metal monster whose appearance has changed greatly is revealed in front of Baizi. The main body of the disc is like a flying saucer, and the 2 arms with huge iron claws are like undeveloped iron dumbbells. On the top of the saucer-shaped torso are 2 red eyes. There is a silver spike on the forehead and back between the eyes, and 2 pairs of silver sharp blades stick out diagonally from the left and right sides of the body. Overall, like a metal mechanical life form. In fact, metal monsters, which are mineral groups, can indeed be classified as mechanical life forms. Baizi quietly stared at the metal monster that seemed to have become extraordinarily quiet in an instant, with inexplicable feelings in his heart. From being hatched in person a few months ago, to the sudden change after swallowing the prism, from a small child to a strong and burly torso. That gluttonous snack food seems to have really grown up at this moment. What? Terry tilde. A quiet, mechanical roar sounded. Baizi restrained his thoughts. In the eyes, a ray of brilliance that no one can see, suddenly appeared one by one. Elf, metal monster, silver white flash. Attribute, steel, super energy. Characteristics, body of eternal purity, heart of steel, exclusive characteristics, immune to steel attribute moves, and increase the resistance of his own moves of various attributes. Prism armor, mutation characteristics, the damage caused by highly effective moves will be reduced by 1. 4. Level, Quasi Tianwang early stage, level 50, 5100ths. Potential, Level 3, Extreme. HP, 60, Attack, 105, 75 Defense, 120, 100, Special Attack, 55, Special Defense, 80, Speed, 50. Common Skills. Mind Power, Metal Claws, Bullet Punch, Impact, Mind Hammer, Electromagnetic Floating, Cannon Light Cannon, Slam, Strong Mind, Ghost Face, Comet Punch. Genetic Skills. Iron Hoof Light, Metal Claws. Status. Perfect, fire resistance is being enhanced. Introduction. The silver-white flashing quasi-god iron dumbbell, the natural king of the race, is the ultimate talent that the entire elf group may only give birth to one. It has innate power and resistance beyond the conventional. After that, the body's defense and resistance have been enhanced again. Made Zhao from the elite level, he directly crossed the gym level, thus advancing to the quasi-king. Today's metal monsters can be said to be reborn and reborn. Price. In the eyes of Bai Zi, who was staring at the metal monster, a flash of recollection suddenly flashed. Above Wang Yang's huge sea, it was like a closed, piercing sea demon, a steel body that was immovable and blocked across the border. A smile suddenly appeared on his face. The anticipation contained in that smile caused an inexplicable firmness to emerge in the heart of the metal monster, whose mind suddenly became much mature after the evolution. Become stronger. Get stronger. Just to live up to the expectations of the young man in front of him. P.S. Metal Monster Anthropomorphic Tilde. Chapter 269. Go to Victory, Help. For full order. Bai Zi spent a total of 3 days on the Sand Island on the number 21 waterway. In the past 3 days, in addition to helping Zoroark, Ibrahimovic, and the evolved metal monsters to adapt and master their respective bodies and abilities. Basically, all the main energy is put on conditioning the body for the little fire monkey, as well as doing basic exercises and a small amount of actual combat drills. When he was in Light Red City before, he had already given the little fire monkey a double treatment of healing and medicated food. But that was only to remove the dark wounds accumulated by wild survival, improper training, and oppressive fighting for the little fire monkey. Although the body has basically been unharmed. But by the standards of Bai Zi's current senior cultivator, premature potential stimulation and squeeze, or its body has not been fully perfected, there are still some deficits that cannot be filled. Of course. This is judged by Bai Zi's standard and angle. For him, even the physical strength has not reached the peak of this level. Then, it is not perfect. And want to be so nitpicky. Not to mention the time spent on cultivation. The money spent alone is completely and truly no different from throwing money. Let's just say that Bai Zi made a tailor-made, fire crystal soup, for the little fire monkey in order to make up for the shortfall of the little fire monkey. 20 milligrams of the best fire stone ground into powder, and 3 drops of the remaining earth core flame marrow, which is hard to find on the market. The main material of life bean rice 417, various tree fruits and herbs as ingredients. Lin Lin finally figured it out. Not to mention the difficulty of cooking. Just for the cost of materials, if you go down a bowl, at least tens of thousands of dollars will be gone. Fortunately, it doesn't take long for this level of supplementation. 2 meals a day and 6 meals for 3 days are enough. To be frank, this level of luxury, Bai Zi dared to say, is unique in the world of elves. Of course, other people want such luxury. Even if they have enough money, it is hard to find a high-level cultivator who comes with them. Everyone has their own pursuits. Either they open their own shop, and the cultivating association can make a lot of money. Even if you are looking for a partner, it depends on whether you are qualified or not. At the very least, you must have the potential or strength of the regional champion of the 4 Heavenly Kings. To know. Advanced trainers are rarer than Heavenly King trainers, and they are much more expensive. One more thing, cultivators have limits. Even master cultivators cannot be proficient in all cultivation directions and types of elves. After all, Not everyone has a system for rewarding their work. After the cultivation level is raised to a stage, they can be directly infused with all the ethical knowledge and operational experience at the current stage. And it is not anyone who can log into the Joey family's internal medical network and retrieve various materials and formulas at will. All in all, after 3 days of final recuperation and interspersed training and battles. This is the novice little fire monkey who is making the fastest progress. Finally succeeded in breaking through the novice level gate, advanced to the elite field, and even reached the elite middle level, level 25, 75/100ths, in one breath, which is considered to have a certain initial combat effectiveness. At least. The water elves in the number 21 waterway are basically unable to stop it. Baizi couldn't help scratching his head a little when he thought of the various performances of the little fire monkey in the recent battle with the elves on the number 21 waterway. Obviously, he is a hard-working and optimistic, simple and brave good boy in TV animation. How to get to him? Has it become this kind of hanging? Hey, 11110_0. Miacha Mountain, also known as Baozi Mountain, is a winding mountain range near the sea to the south of Junxin town. Thanks to the Guangmao Mountain Forest, which stretches for hundreds of miles, its rich mineral veins and abundant product resources have supported the residents of Junxin town who have lived here for generations. It blocks the hot and humid air blown by the monsoon from the ocean, and ensures the independent and stable climate of Junxin town, which is like spring in all seasons. Although the entire Mihal Mountains are integrated, there are completely different terrains in different directions. The southwest corner of the Mihal Mountains is close to the largest everine forest in the Kanto region, but it is a rather barren rocky site, with almost no greenery. Therefore, it is also quite clearly separated from the adjacent Viking forest. After Baizi left the number 21 waterway. In the end, I decided to go to Vibrant City to get the last gym badge, and then return to Junxin town to rest and wait for the official holding of the Quartz conference. Therefore, after entering the inland, he turned the waterway and prepared to follow the trail at the edge of the Miatsa Mountains to take a shortcut and head to Joban City. The so-called shortcut is naturally not as smooth as the numbered path. In other words, Baizi, who walks almost in a straight line, walks on the intersection of the Everpin Forest and Miacha Mountain. The terrain is complex enough to make the average camping mountaineer stay away. What strange rocks, shrubs and vines will not be mentioned. Trees and rocks are tangled together at the edges, crooked and bumpy like sheep's intestines. Plus the thick fallen leaves, and the ups and downs, the looming bumpy terrain is a natural trap field. If you're not careful, you may step down. And where it fell, it may be paved with strange rocks of some shape. Fortunately, Baizi couldn't be found here. The skills brought by the master-level kicking skills and the core strength of the powerful waist, abdomen and legs allow him to walk on this intricate path. Not to mention his superpowers that are not inferior to those of the quasi-king elf. Just look at Nazi beside him. Under the wrapping of mind power, his feet did not touch the ground at all, and he floated forward leisurely behind Baizi, which was called a relaxed freehand. However, the reason why Baizi went on foot was mainly to exercise himself. And it wasn't too difficult for him in itself. The speed is also fast. In just over half an hour, Baizi had already walked halfway through the steep mountain forest and came to the steep slope of a valley to the north. Below is a relatively flat stone trail. All the way down. Out of this valley. It is the number 1 main road to Joban City. Baizi jumped down, ignoring the few rock-type elves scattered around him, holding up Nazi's slender hand that fell beside him, and walking down the mountain along a long corridor that was not formed. But they didn't wait for them to take 2 steps. A violent tremor suddenly came from under my feet. Immediately after. Help. A familiar cry for help, accompanied by more and more violent ground shaking, came from behind him. P.S. Sun Elf Personification tilde. Chapter 270. Unparalleled Divine Power. The Big Rock Snake favored by Shiba. For full order. What the hell? Baizi looked stunned for a moment, turned his head to look, and immediately saw Xiaoji, Xiao Sha, and Xiao Gang who were running towards him. And behind them, thick smoke billowed. A giant rock snake that was at least 2 or 3 times the size of an ordinary giant rock snake followed closely behind. With Baizi's extraordinary eyesight, he could clearly see the 2 scars on the right side of his face that were opened in a crisscross pattern. This big rock snake seems to have lost his mind because of the pain. But even so, it didn't attack Ash and the 3 fleeing ahead. Just blindly rushing forward, it seems that the only way to relieve the pain of my own Tilda. The big rock snake is not an agile elf. But with its size, especially the size of this giant rock snake far exceeding its kin, even if it is just a simple movement, it takes at least 3 to 5 steps for humans to run out. Therefore, even if it doesn't have the desire to attack the 3 of them, but if this trend continues, they will be run over by the big rock snake in less than 2 minutes. At that time, it would have an impact weight of tens of tons at least, just like a road roller dropped by a concubine, and it would be able to crush Xiaoji and his party into small cakes in an instant. This is indeed a life and death crisis. And this moment. The gradually narrowing distance also allowed Xiaoji and the 3 to discover Baizi and not see in front of them, and their pupils immediately shrank. Brother Baizi, run! Get out of the way! Don't stand in a daze. I have to say that most people in the elf world have positive views, and the trio of Ash, one of the protagonists, don't have a bad boy. They were in a crisis situation, and they were the first to issue a warning to Baizi and the others. And Xiaoji, who is a bit reckless by nature. It was a sudden stop and touched the pokeball at his waist. Obviously. It was because he wanted to intercept the big rock snake by himself and avoid hurting Baizi and the others. To be frank. Although Xiaoji's move was reckless, Baizi was really moved. Xiaoji, Xiaoji. As soon as Xiaoji stopped, the 2 people who followed him immediately reacted, and their faces turned pale with shock. And at this moment, although adhering to a cavity of loneliness stopped. However, the enormous oppressive body of the giant rock snake still shocked Xiaojuxin, who was facing the opposite. Next second, a mountain-like shadow immediately enveloped him. Xiaoji's face turned pale in an instant. It's over. Still so reckless. With a long magnetic voice, a familiar slender figure suddenly appeared in front of him. Hold it down for me, Metal Claw. White light flashed. Terry Tilda. A plate-shaped steel body with a silvery white metallic luster suddenly appeared in the white light. Leaning forward, a pair of iron arms encircled, and dashed towards the direction of the big rock snake. Although the metal monster is also considered a big man compared to its skin. But the body size is only 1.56 meters at most. Compared with the big rock snake, which is at least 20 to 30 meters long, it is really only a small point. However, although the stature is disparate, its potential is indomitable. Bang! A loud noise, the metal monster, which is not even the size of a joint of the big rock snake, forcibly put its head on the 7 inches of the rock snake, forcing the big rock snake to stop. Then, the open iron arm was like a tight hoop, and the metal claws that shone with white light clenched tightly. Body twist. The big rock snake was actually lifted up from the ground, rotated, and fell on the ground. A strange power was suddenly revealed. Yeah, Tilda. Boom! The big rock snake made a short and urgent cry, and when the huge figure twisted, it seemed that he wanted to break free from the little bit that was clamped to his body. But helplessly, the other party's strange power is too abnormal. No matter how hard the big rock snake tried, it couldn't break free from the opponent's pair of iron arms. Tired of struggling, the metal monster even stood up and, under the push of the magnetic force, directly lifted this behemoth of at least 20 to 30 meters into the air. The tightly clasped claws snapped. Crack, sound. Ow, Tilda. With a tragic howl, the big rock snake's body suddenly tensed, and then it fell limply. You commanded the metal monster to kill the huge big rock snake in seconds, with a little gain, battle experience +1, Metal Monster Experience Value +15, Metal Claw Proficiency +3. 15 o'clock. Baizi was stunned. This point is not too low. 0. Ask for flowers. Even with the bonus of instant kill, the metal monster is already a quasi-king level. It seems that this huge rock snake in Miacha Mountain is not low in level. Baizi had already remembered the origin of this big rock snake. Located in Miacha Mountains. With such a huge body, and a unique appearance like a cross scar. Obviously it is the big rock snake that appeared in the TV anime. Speak up. This big rock snake has also appeared in one of his 6 main candidates. I just gave up after I got iron dumbbells. And he remembered that at the end of this huge rock snake, it seemed that it was conquered by Shiba, the fighting king, one of the 4 kings of today's Kanto. And the other party is still looking for it. The spirit that can attract the attention of the 4 heavenly kings and deliberately search for and conquer, and is not the fighting system he is good at. To be honest, Baizi suddenly became interested in the data panel of this big rock snake. Sweep the eyes. The unseen brilliance suddenly rose up one by one. Race. Big rock snake overlord form. Attribute. Rock ground. Characteristic. Hard head. Level. Quasi-Tianwang Elementary, Level 52, 8100ths. Potential. Champion. HP. 135, Attack. 34, Defense. 160, Special Attack. 30, Special Defense. 45, Speed. 70. Open black lens bracket. Common skills. Slightly. Close black lens bracket. Genetic skill. Wide area defense. Status. Seriously injured, heart-piercing pain, near death. Introduction. Swallowing the excellent geocentric ore veins in the Mihal Mountains for many years, I was able to grow in size and strength far beyond that of the same family. Moreover, after years of suffering from heart-piercing pain and constantly relying on eating high-concentration rock-type ores to continue my life, its vitality can grow in a different way. Carrying Spirit. King of Mountains, Level 22, Looking at the data of the big rock snake revealed in the low eye, a strange color flashed in Baizi's pupils. A few. Chapter 271. Meet the trio again, save the giant rock snake. For full order. What surprised him was not the additional label of the overlord form of the big rock snake, nor the rank of the quasi-king and the potential of the tall champion. Even if the elf Pansion King at the end of the panel, who is familiar with the original work, knows the reason very well. Baizi was really surprised. It was this big rock snake's unusual stamina racial value. A mutation caused by the struggle of life and death. Baizi touched his chin and looked at the huge figure that was thrown to the ground by the metal monster and pressed with one arm, with a look of admiration in his eyes. Regardless of level potential. Not to mention the super high physique tempered in this pain. Just this insistence on never giving up on survival is far beyond what ordinary people can match. After years and months of deep-seated pain, even Baizi himself would not dare to say that he could endure it. It is also difficult for Master Shiba, one of the 4 kings of the April 17 inches specializing in fighting, to see this big guy. If not for the natural king of metal monsters. I'm afraid that Baizi will also be moved. However, although I'm not going to be included in the team, but since I've seen such a good seedling, I can grab it and give it to Xiao Huang as a gift. Speaking of which, I haven't seen you for a while. Thinking of that pure person, the corner of Baizi's mouth also raised a slight smile. Who tilde good, it's dangerous. Only at this moment did Xiaoji, who was standing stiffly behind Baizi, regain his senses, and suddenly sat down on the ground with a sturdy skin. At some point, Xiaoxia and Xiaogang, who also rushed back to Xiaoji's side, also had their legs and feet weak, and they sat down paralyzed with a trembling look. Although the courage to face danger arises. But there was a great terror between life and death. In retrospect, the 3 of them couldn't help but be afraid for a while. The chest cavity was heaving and undulating like a blower, and the heart seemed to be about to pop out. Until the silver-white flashing metal monster completely subdued the big rock snake and threw it on the ground, causing another shock. The three of them recovered. They helped each other up in sequence, looked at each other, and immediately smiled at each other. Travel time is not very long. But the friendship between the three is already enough to survive. And right now, Baizi's slightly helpless voice suddenly sounded, interrupting the atmosphere that rose between the three. What a smirk! Not abandoning, not giving up, and the spirit of self-sacrifice is indeed worthy of praise, but acting recklessly can't solve the crisis. You have to be calm when you are in trouble. The appropriate method is easier to solve the incident than the reckless rampage. After traveling for so long, you still haven't made any progress. Large rock snakes are not uncommon in Kanto, and the powerful strength given by their size also limits their flexibility. Even if you don't recognize Snake Road for a while, you shouldn't be running in a straight line, right? Using a circuitous method to avoid its forward line, such a simple method, can none of the three of you think of it? Xiaoji, Xiaosha, Xiaoging. As soon as the voice fell, the three of them suddenly stiffened. Xiaoji scratched his head and smirked, while Xiaosha looked at her toes with embarrassment. Especially Xiaoging. He was originally an expert specializing in the rock system, and he was also the former owner of the Nibi Gym. The original elf was also a big rock snake. Now he is more focused on the cultivation of elves, and wants to become a qualified elves cultivator. With the addition of these multiple identities, he should have made the most correct and timely treatment at the first time. But his performance is no different from that of a beginner. Even in terms of courage. It was even compared by Xiaoji. Thinking of this, Xiaoging's dark face turned red with shame, and he could not wait to find a crack to burrow into. But fortunately, thanks to the help of this fellow Xiaoji in front of him, this crisis was finally a near miss. At this point, Xiaoging took a deep breath. Coming to Baizi, he bowed heavily to the end. Thank you very much for your life-saving grace. As a rock-type trainer, I am really ashamed. I am very sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Brother Baizi. Xiaoji and Xiaosha looked at each other and bowed deeply in thanks. Okay, just remember this lesson in the future. Baizi waved his hand, and after exhorting, he turned and walked towards the huge rock snake lying on the ground. Before subduing this big guy, he needs to solve the bone-piercing disease for the other party. Brother Baizi, are you going to subdue this big guy? Tilda. Baizi didn't explain too much, just nodded and released auspicious eggs on his waist. Fufu, help me stabilize the state of this big guy. Lucky Tilda. The little girl nodded again and again, looking at the big rock snake with a look of pity. Putting both hands together, pushed a green light group and a pink light wave to the big rock snake. This is the aromatherapy and healing wave. Although auspicious eggs are not good at fighting. But the talent for healing is undeniable. It is completely trivial for Gili Egg to use two kinds of skills at the same time, and to use the high-level operation of the two skills alternately. And under the healing and soothing shimmer, the frown of the comatose big rock snake gradually eased. Aside. The metal monster's body was tense, and the powerful thought power emerging from his eyes rendered his red pupils a blue color. As the team doctor and logistics helper in the team, Gili Egg is not only Baizi, but all elves treat it as a group pet. Although the big rock snake has not woken up at this time, but 1.7 Gili Egg is not good at fighting, it should be defense is essential. Baizi chuckled lightly. Sweep the eyes. After identifying the little guy with the same weak breath in the body, he went straight forward, and the burning white thought force suddenly emerged, towards the prone big rock snake, and the gap between the fifth and sixth rocks extended away. P.S. Tomoko and Pika Neong Tilda. By the way, do you want to make a female version of Xiaoji and Shigeru in a parallel world to fall in love? Then take it back to Junshin Town and meet Gen Xiaoji. Oh, he Tilda. Chapter 272. Master Shiba, are you going to leave without saying hello? Please complete the order. Speaking of which, this little guy is still drilling quite deep, and with the tightness between the rock torso of the big rock snake, it is really not easy for ordinary people to get it out. Fortunately, Baizi is no ordinary person. Possesses spiritual power comparable to the strength of a quasi-king spirit. It was very easy to catch the little guy who was shivering and still desperately drilling into the body of the big rock snake. Woo tilde. With a painful murmur, the big rock snake seemed to have a sign of waking up. Okay, take it easy. The warm breath spread out from Baizi's body, smoothing the frown of the big rock snake, and the little guy who was desperately drilling into it stopped struggling. Baizi immediately seized the opportunity. The burning white light in his eyes shone brightly. In an instant, the surging thought force wrapped up the little guy who stopped struggling, and suddenly pulled out. Clap la la, a tawny brown crawling creature was pulled out of the crack, accompanied by a pile of rubble with a foul-smelling red-yellow mucus. Like a hedgehog, it has much harder and thicker brown bristles covering its back. Although the two-fingered claws like a dagger are severely worn, their sharpness can still be seen. The head and cheeks are slightly narrow, and the O2 arc of the body is very suitable for drilling holes. This is a mountain king. As you can tell from the name, drilling holes is its specialty. With its streamlined torso and a pair of sharp claws, it cannot withstand repeated drilling and digging on hard stones. Thinking about it now, it's no wonder that the big rock snake was tossed so hard. Such a master of digging rocks and mountains stays in the body, it is almost equivalent to a rat with scales and armor getting into the human tissue and constantly gnawing, drilling, and biting you. Just thinking about it makes people shudder. But this little guy obviously didn't mean to. Looking at its skinny appearance, and the muscles of its legs and feet are faintly transparent under the light, I know that this guy won't last long. Possibly, it will take longer. The big rock snake was not tossed to death by it, and it was afraid that it would starve to death first. And it is also fortunate that this little guy is a ground-type elf, and the demand for water sources is not so large. Otherwise, it may die of thirst before starving to death. Of course, it is also possible that this little guy is drinking blood to maintain vitality. Energy needed. The thoughts in his heart turned sharply, and Baizi looked at the king of mountains who was obediently lying at his feet after being dragged out. I took out a few square soft cakes from my backpack. The main material of this thing is the lucky egg in the belly pocket of Gili egg. After the lucky egg is taken out by Gili egg with the raw egg trick, it cannot exist for too long. Generally speaking, after 24 hours, this lucky egg will turn into a rotten egg. That is, the fried egg trick. However, after Baizi's wonderful hand, the made egg yolk pie soft cake not only has improved efficacy, but also can be stored for a long time, and the taste is also excellent. Wow tilde. This king of mountains was obviously very hungry. After taking the soft cake handed over by Baizi, he swallowed the dates wholeheartedly, his choked eyes rolled and he was still reluctant to spit it out. Okay, don't be in such a hurry, drink some milk. Baizi patted the little guy on the back and fed it a little more milk. Some food. In addition, what Baizi used was all good things, and he recovered a lot of mountain kings, which made his face look much better. During this period, Baizi also took the time to check the data panel of the Mountain King. The level and potential of the first-time elites, and the racial values that are indistinguishable from their peers, everything seems ordinary. Sure enough, not all elves can take this opportunity to obtain miraculous transformations. After treating this Mountain King for 7 or 8, Baizi took out a few handmade ground-based energy cubes as food for the week period in the past few days. Only then did Xuanchen Wang bow and thank each other for a while. There is no Xuanchen Wang who is outstanding, and Baizi naturally does not intend to subdue it. So well prepared. But it is because of the basic morality of a qualified elf trainer. As an elite-level Mountain King, he is not weak among wild elves, but his vitality is severely damaged. Without Baizi's subsidy, I am afraid it is difficult to achieve independence. Pray, the so-called good people do to the end, send Buddha to the west. It's just a little elf food. Although the price on the market is not cheap, he is still willing to pay, and he can afford it. It turns out that there is still a mountain king in the body of the big rock snake. No wonder it is so violent. Xiaoging's expression suddenly appeared on his face. It's amazing. Xiaoxia is also full of brilliance, whether it is the demeanor of facing the big rock snake alone, or the neatness of treating the big rock snake, plus her handsome and charming appearance. More than that, she is simply Prince Charming alive. Humph tilde of course. Brother Baizi is a famous genius in our new town, but he's just a little bit better than me. Xiaoji had a proud look on his face. But as he spoke, he couldn't help but cocked his tail. But he wasn't finished yet. He was slapped on the back of the head by a punch from Sister Xia, and he stumbled to the ground with a stern face. Don't be ashamed. You bastard, you are obviously 180,000 miles apart. Baizi ignored them. People's fights. Instead, he continued to treat the wound for the big rock snake. Although Xuanxin Wang was pulled out, the wounds had already festered and oozing pus over time. If it is not handled cleanly, once infected, it will also endanger the life of the giant rock snake. And the next scene. It also opened the eyes of Xiaoji and others. Baizi first called out Laplace to create an ice blade scalpel as thin as a silkworm's wing, and then used icicles to prop up the injured part to form an operating table. After Gili Egg washed the wounded with life water droplets, under the control of mind power, the scalpel flew and cut like a butterfly. The texture and rock blocks that exuded the stench of 417 were cleaned up. Speak up. The physiology of elves has long been a scientific mystery. Like the big rock snake, more than 70% of its body is made of rocks, but it has a special texture similar to the stomach and blood vessels. It can harmoniously form a cycle and become a part of life composition. Have to say, elves are indeed the magical species that can be called miracles in this world. Quickly, remove the festering tissue, stop the bleeding, and apply a healing ointment specially designed for rock or steel elves. Wu tilde. Only then did the big rock snake slowly wake up from the coma and let out a weak moan. Baizi didn't communicate too much with the grateful big rock snake. He took out an overweight ball and tapped it lightly. The red light flickered, and the big rock snake was taken in without any resistance. Afterwards, he stood up, and under the inexplicable expressions of the three of Xiaoji, he said aloud in the direction of an upright triangular boulder not far behind them. Master Shiba, I've been watching for so long, and I'm not going to come out to fight. Say hello and leave. Chapter 273. Monsters, Shortcuts, Fighting Intent. Haha tilde have you found out by little brother? A burly, shirtless man with a body size of at least 260 centimeters walked out barefoot. His muscles fit like bricks like body armor, and his shoulders and arms were raised and thicker than an ordinary person's waist. The hair on the head is vigorous, the sideburns are thick and long to the cheeks, and the long hair that reaches the shoulders is casually gathered behind the head, which looks very rough. He is one of the 4 heavenly kings of Kanto. With a series of titles such as Fighting Master, the World's Strongest Man, Humanoid Monster Power and a series of titles, the Trainer of the King of Heaven, Shiba. Such a unique physique is obviously difficult to make mistakes. And the most eye-catching is the black iron rings around Shiba's wrists and ankles. The solid black metal surface, the 2 pairs of wrists and ankles, the dots and the gate-shaped brass-colored iron pillars running through them respectively. This thing Baizi knows. A weight-bearing ring specially designed for fighting elves to train their bodies. Divided into waist ring and wrist ring. The levels are also roughly divided into 2 categories. There are 3 levels of leather rings for the basic level, and then there are the advanced versions of the iron rings, which are also 3 levels. Let's just say hoop. They are the pure black weight ring with no additional gravity, the dotted brass iron ring with 10 times the bonus, and the door-shaped brass iron ring with 50 times the bonus. To know. The basic version of the load-bearing hoop has a weight of 50 kilograms. 2 pairs of 10 times the dot brass hoop plus 2 pairs of 50 times the door-shaped brass hoop. When worn on the body, the load is as high as 12,000 kilograms. This motherfucker is equivalent to carrying a Dinghai Shenzhen that lacks a pound and a few pounds with you. As you can imagine. Shiba's pure physical power, how terrifying it would be. What's even more terrifying is that, with such a powerful force, he can walk silently as if there is nothing. Unless you have superpowers. In addition, Baizi's mental perception ability is far from extraordinary. He really may not be able to find each other. Monster. Xiba and the others naturally didn't know the slander in Baizi's heart, but at this time, Xiaoji and the others were even more excited after seeing the person coming. Master Shiba, the real Master Shiba, appeared. The most important purpose of these trips is to find Master Shiba, the fighting king who was here, and want to ask Shiba for the secret skills of the trainer to become stronger, so that Xiaoji can be in the future. Before the quartz contest, become stronger in order to get an excellent result. Because of this, they went to this Miacha mountain together, hoping to find Shiba. What they didn't expect was that they encountered a mad giant rock snake shortly after entering the mountain. After being saved by Baizi, they actually met Master Shiba. But at this moment, Xiba's attention was basically on Baizi. In his eyes. It is obvious that the excellence of the few elves released by Baizi can be seen. Especially the metal monster, the unparalleled supernatural power, and the neat melee combat method made him who advocates melee combat especially appreciate. Also from True New Town. What an excellent little guy. A glimmer of admiration flashed across Shiba's eyes. At the same time, he thought with a pity, this trip is a waste of time, but being subdued by such a guy is not a bad thing for Big Rock Snake. Thinking of this, Xiba smiled casually. Perhaps one day, he and Big Rock Snake will be able to witness each other's growth on the field. In this way. Not bad. Xiba was thinking about it, but saw the squinting eyes of the few teenagers who had a skin color similar to his suddenly stepped forward and fell to the ground with a thud. Master Shiba, this kid. Xiaogang pointed to Xiaoji with a look of determination, and sincerely pleaded, he is going to participate in this year's quartz conference, although he is stupid and confused, but he is a very serious person, please teach him some great secret skills for trainers to become stronger, I am willing to do anything. Xiaoji, please come along too. Having said that, he hurriedly reminded Xiaoji again, that appearance was even more urgent and nervous than Xiaoji himself. Have to say. Excluding the current situation of beauty, Xiaogang is indeed reliable and loyal. On the other side, under Xiaogang's reminder, Xiaoji finally came back to his senses, and responded in a daze, and beside Xiaogang, who came, knelt down side by side. Please. Xiaoji, you have to be more polite. Master, please. Xiaoxia on the side was silent. She was very familiar with the meaning of the four heavenly kings, so she was not very optimistic about the actions of Xiaogang and Xiaoji from the beginning. If it is really a few words and a few knees to learn other people's secrets, then the four heavenly kings should not go out. Just those who study every day will be able to block the quartz plateau. Technique, Dewey tilde. The pork bee in her arms also looked heartless, and she was very happy with her little hands. But to Xiaoxia's surprise, the fighting king did not directly refuse. Turning his eyes, after walking around the two of them, his expression gradually became serious, and he asked in a deep voice, you two, are you really willing to do anything? Yes. Are you the same, Ash? Xiaogang and Xiaoji looked at each other and responded in unison, we are willing, I will leave everything to you, Master Shiba. Ellipsis. Carrying water, chopping wood, moving stones. Baizi watched Xiba teasing Xiaoji and Xiaogang with a cold eye. As a trainer, I don't make a good training plan for my elves, I don't observe and record the process of becoming stronger, I don't carry out reasonable feeding and cultivation, I always think of taking shortcuts, being teased twice, and suffering a little. Yep. Shiba itself is not malicious anyway. It would be a good thing to have a little reflection on this. Baizi didn't wait much. Look at the sky. He got up and took Nazi to leave, and went to a lawn at the entrance and exit at the foot of the mountain to rest for a while. Do you have Zhao? After a simple lunch. Baizi laid his pillow on Nazi's black silk with a lazy face. His eyes were dazed, as if he was waiting for something. Are you waiting for Shiba? Nazi gently inserted her palms into Baizi's hair, and gently stroked and kneaded. Tilda. Baizi hummed from his nose, without opening his eyes, his face full of enjoyment. Don't wait too long, no. In the middle of the conversation, Baizi suddenly turned over and turned his attention to the entrance of Shishin. It should be said, it's already here. In the blue pupils, a touch of fighting intent rose quietly. Chapter 274, Baizi vs. Shiba, the Insect Prince of Viking. For full order. It's you. Shiba stood at the entrance and exit at the foot of the mountain with his arms around his chest. His eyes full of scrutiny revealed a hint of playfulness. Why, you also want to find me to learn secret skills? Master Shiba is joking. Baizi shook his head slightly and said with a smile, I never planned to entrust the matter of becoming stronger to others. The reason why I came to stop you is very simple. As a trainer, I am happy to see Li Xin, and I want to ask Master Shiba for some advice. I wonder if you can enlighten me. Although he himself did not specifically look for the idea of Shiba. But such a big experience pack. And they all came to your door. Baizi would definitely not let it go so easily. Oh. Hearing this, Zyba was stunned. As the most low-key of the 4 heavenly kings, he is also the most difficult to find. He has been practicing like an ascetic for many years in the wild where there are few people. Apart from performing his duties as a heavenly king, he rarely sees anyone. But that doesn't mean he hasn't faced the challenge of some insane rookie trainers. Those small 417 gangs always have a kind of self-confidence. It seems that he can sweep the champions of the 4 heavenly kings in 1 year, crushed the world in 2 years, invincible in 3 years, and then retreated into the mountains. But the boy in front of him who looks very outgoing is obviously not a weak person. This can be easily seen from the metal monster that has clearly reached the strength of a quasi-king. If it is normal, he is not unable to guide this genius boy who must be one of the best in his age group. But unfortunately, the only elf he carries now is not suitable for guiding newcomers in battle. Sorry, little brother. Shiba shook his head in a kind tone that was completely opposite to his fierce body type. It's not that I don't want to accept your challenge. I'm really anxious to come out, and I don't have a suitable elves around. Look at this, I heard the Hat Boy and the Squinting Boy say that you will also participate in this year's Quartz Conference. Then, we will agree to have a 6v6 full battle at the headquarters of the Alliance after the Quartz Tournament. How? To be honest, Shiba has given enough face to Baizi. As the 4 heavenly kings, the importance of being able to give such a guarantee is self-evident. If you meet a smart one. During this period, practice hard, go to challenges, and if you can perform well, it is not a bad idea to follow the trend. However, such a routine is only for ordinary people. Same. Baizi just changed his mind and understood another hidden meaning in Shiba. Not carrying the right sprites, not carrying sprites. With the strength and spirit of Shiba, it is obviously impossible to be afraid of fighting because the strength of the elves is weak. That is to say, do you think that the spirit you are carrying is too strong, so you did not agree to my invitation to fight? If so, then I'm even more interested. Baizi didn't say more, because the power of words was sometimes too weak. He just took out a poke ball from his waist. Gently move. In an instant. Tilda. Accompanied by the sharp sound of insects, white light flickered, and a needle-piercing insect beast made of steel appeared in the void. Under the stare of the scarlet worm's eyes, the shattering edge of the order of all things stabbed straight at the giant man on the opposite side. Championship. Shiba's expression froze, and the somewhat surprised confession was patrolling back and forth between Baizi and the flashing hornby floating in the air in front of him. Good half sound. Only then did he ask with a dry throat, are you sure you are a rookie trainer who only started this year? ACBH or, like that guy do, you only made a blockbuster when you were invincible at the grassroots level, right? Baizi was suddenly dumbfounded, shook his head and explained, Master Shiba, you are joking, there is none of this, I really only set out to travel this year, and the one elf I captured has only been a few months, and this is the one in front of me. Big stinger. Oh, yes, in fact, there are almost 3 or 4 trainers in our new town. It's not unusual for us to make progress a little bit faster than other trainers. Shiba didn't reply, but she could see obvious disbelief on her face. Liar. One little monster like you is scary enough, at least 3 or 4. Isn't this year's quartz conference going to explode? At that time, all the guests from all directions will see that your new town will stand out from the crowd. Forget it. Shiba shook his head, since you have this level of strength, I naturally have no reason to refuse this match. Or this sudden battle temper, I can't ask for it. Shiba's expression suddenly became fanatical and awe-inspiring. With a wild and brutal atmosphere, a black and white high-level ball with a yellow U-shaped pattern was violently thrown out. Pa tilde with a crisp sound. White light suddenly appeared. A unicorn with the power of reaching the sky, a huge blue unicorn fairy appeared in the field. Hey tilde. The unique insect sound, the strong insect body and the claws of the whole body armor and stomach. It is the one-horned Pokemon known as the first generation of insect kings, Heracross. Race, Heracross. Attribute, bug fighting. Characteristic, perseverance. Level, champion intermediate, level 75, 35 100ths. Potential, champion. HP, 80, attack, 125, defense, 75, special attack, 40, special defense, 95, speed, 85. Skills, resurrection, double return, earthquake, corner strike, stare, bash, tap it, swallow return, tile splitting, missile needle, hell thrust, rage, sword dance, super corner strike, close combat. Close black lens bracket. Genetic skill, casting on earth. Open black lens bracket status, perfect close black lens bracket. Introduction, Heracross, who has excellent qualifications and is born with great strength, is the heir of the second generation of insect princes located in the heart of the vibrant forest. Close black lens bracket. P.S. A picture of the first generation of insect king Macho tilde. Chapter 275. The change in the gap. Shiba, why is this a novice trainer who only started this year? Please complete the order. However, unlike the dull eyes of the same kind, the eyes of this Heracross are very determined and fierce. The armor and stomach all over the body are covered with scars like knives and axe. The sturdy single horn, the spikes on the stomach and the hooks on the legs and feet, the red to purple, purple to black blood and rust all over it, almost integrated with the stomach thorns. The pungent bloody smell that filled the air. Not only Baizi smelled it, but even Nazi, who had retreated some distance away, couldn't help frowning. Sizzle tilde. The big needle bee fluttered its wings and stopped in front of Baizi for the first time, and the pieces of purple energy armor condensed and assembled, loaded onto the slender double needles. The child of the second generation insect king. Baizi murmured slightly, and was very concerned about the word insect king displayed on the data panel. Because this made him unconsciously think of the insect king orb obtained by the giant needle bee before. They are all in the name of the insect king, is there any unknown connection? And Zyba looked at Baizi, who was in deep thought, and seemed to have misunderstood. This guy has already been like this when I was with me. The battles I have experienced are countless, but don't worry, I have been taught in regular battles and will not kill you. Shiba waved his hand. Baizi smiled slightly, but did not refute. Speak up. Although it is called the Four Heavenly Kings, none of the Four Heavenly Kings in Kanto is a simple character. Long Shadu, who has the highest appearance rate, is often active in fighting criminals on the front line, and makes news reports from time to time, has a very high reputation in both Gwandu and Gwandu. The last Champions Cup winner. Undoubtedly, the top champion trainer. The other three are also not weak. Dragons are proud. As a dragon expert who advocates the power of dragons, Yulongdu also has the arrogance that is almost indistinguishable from dragon elves. If he can't get his approval and is regarded as a trainer of the same level by default, how can he be willing to be equal to the other three trainers and jointly serve as the four heavenly kings of Kanto? The four heavenly kings of Kanto are called four heavenly kings. But I'm afraid they are all champions. Moreover, from the perspective of Heba, Heracross, who has never shown himself before, they should have gone a long way in the championship field. Think about it. It is rumored that the four heavenly kings in Kanto restrained each other, and Konik Yulongdu, Shibak Kona, and Grandma Juzi restrained Shiba. If it is not similar in strength, how can there be any restraint? The level is crushed, and you still restrain your ass. The two sides of the battle are the fighting King Shiba of Kanto and Baizi of Junshin Town. The rule is 1v1. The one who loses the fighting power of the elves first is the loser. Then, Natsi, who was temporarily serving as the interim referee, had a cold tone and briefly explained the rules. After confirming that the two sides were ready, she immediately waved, "The game, start." Heracross, horns. Big Stinger, shadow clone. Following Natsi's order, Zyba and Baizi issued the order almost at the same time. Hey Tilda. Heracross's start-up speed was astonishing. With a bang, the smoke was released, and before the sound came, it had already slammed into it. The sturdy, straight and powerful forked bighorn is like the front of a forklift. The air that hits is atomized into a ball, pushing bursts of sonic booms, and carrying a strong impact, it arrives in an instant. Heracross is known for his great strength. Therefore, many people have overlooked the ultimate explosive power brought by its surging power. In normal flight motion, Heracross's speed can only be considered to be not slow at most, and it has nothing to do with fast. But if it's a short sprint, that speed is no different from teleportation. However, Baizi obviously won't ignore this. Or, he was prepared from the start. Eyesight alone can't keep up with the rapidity of Heracross's burst, like blue lines pulled out in midair, and the sharp sound of breaking through the air flashed past, and the large needle bee passed directly through the body, crashing into smashed. But then, bang, with a sound of explosion, a cloud of smoke exploded from the place where the giant needle bee was located. It was a shadow clone. Looking up again, the dense figures of giant needle bees in the sky are already all over the place. Although empty. But Heracross's smashing force was not shallow. With it facing the straight line, all the giant stingers in the fan-shaped area were all blown into smoke one after another, and a quarter of them were directly swept away. 0. Ask for flowers. 8.5, 6, 1.0 feet 9. 7, 8.2. Ling, long, has it been read first? Seeing this, Zyba was stunned for a moment. How many years has she not been read first in the battle? Of course, he did not go all out and was a little careless. But the strength of this kid on the opposite side is beyond doubt. Interesting. Then let you have a good experience of our powerful power to break everything. Shiba's heart gradually became a little bit burning. But at this moment, Master Shiba, how much you look down on me when you are distracted in the battle of the same level. Baizi's magnetic voice came from afar, and then he indifferently ordered, Yan Wei. Beer. Under the cover of a group of shadow clones, the giant stinger bee that had quietly sneaked behind Heracross at some point, raised one arm high, and the wrapped gauntlet mimicked a long blade on one side, towards the joint of Heracross's right leg. Crossing over. Yan back. Flying tricks. For Heracross with bug fighting attributes, the effect is excellent, it is 4 times the damage. As a surefire move, it comes with an invisible traction force, and it moves as fast as lightning, making it almost difficult for opponents to parry defenses. And once it really hits Heracross's leg joints, it hurts its power point for short-distance explosive displacement. Then it will be fatal to Heracross. Lack of short-distance burst displacement. Heracross, who is slow in action, will fall into the embarrassing situation of being beaten and slowed down by the giant stinger and flying a kite to death. The cold sweat on Sheba's forehead instantly fell. He didn't think so. It's just the momentary gap between the battles that the opponent will grasp and use it so precisely. Is this a newcomer trainer who only started this year? The high level of the elves can also be described by their unique talents. But with this level of combat intelligence and control, I also believe that you are a veteran champion. Several. Chapter 276. Baizi's sassy manipulation, all perishing. Please complete the order. Heracross, the top of Mount Tarzan. He was scolded in his heart, but Sheba's response was not slow, and he quickly issued an order the first time he found the giant stinger. Heracross's normal mobility is slow and his agility is quite worrying. These are all racial disadvantages that Heracross itself has. At the same time, it is also a key point of attack for the opponent. And often this time, the quality of the trainer is reflected. Hey Tilda. At this moment, with Zyba's timely instructions, Heracross was in danger, completely ignoring the attack on the joints behind him. Thorn, a sound of gold and iron clashing, followed by the harsh rubbing of a sharp object on the glass. In the nick of time. Using the falling force generated by Tyshawn's top pressing skills, Heracross, 417 inches evaded the fatal blow of the giant needlebee and avoided the key point, leaving only a half-inch deep scratch on his back. Boom! The ground was suddenly smashed into a big pit, and the smoke rose, accompanied by the familiar explosion of air. Heracross suddenly rushed out, and came towards the direction of the big needlebee, throwing on the earth. This blow came quite suddenly, and without the order of Sheba, he made it spontaneously, trying to use the smoke to clamp the big needlebee and drag the battle into close quarters. Have to say, there is absolutely no problem in strategy, and its counterattack action is outstanding. But it is a pity that Heracross encountered a large needlebee who, after Baizi's words and deeds, almost integrated the word prudence into his bones. Before Heracross counterattacks. Or, when the big needlebee found that Yunwi's unique move was not fully successful, it immediately pulled up a sufficient distance and began to condense the sword dance on its own. Therefore, hee tilde. After Heracross suddenly rushed out, he found that he was completely in the air, and after the same rapid distance, when he looked up, he could only look at the black spotted large needlebee stems that condensed the sword dance above the sky stair. Even Sheba couldn't help but twitch the corners of his mouth. Although a road fight like this generally does not have too clear restrictions on the venue, as long as it is not too much, it is almost within the range of sight. But flying so high, how do you let Heracross fight? The long-distance turret attack itself is Heracross's weakness. The missile needle does not damage enough, the venom impact distance is not enough, the accuracy of destroying the death light is not enough, and after the attack, it will produce stiffness. Originally, Sheba did not train Heracross in the direction of the fort. What's more, dealing with a player with such high agility as the Hornet can only increase consumption. As for flying up to find each other for melee combat, it's okay to fight like this against an ordinary trainer, but against Baizi. In such a short period of time before, he was caught by the other party. If he suffered a loss once, he would be a fool if he committed it again. So, Heracross, sword dance. If you come, I will also come, everyone will be in a good state of sword dance together, then the eagle will catch the chick, and whoever is encountered will finish the calf first. Hey tilde. Following Zyba's order, Heracross also stabilized his mentality. While staring at the black spot in the sky, he raised his arms and stepped on his legs and slowly jumped into battle. A circle of lights, the green energy sword suddenly appeared and spun around. The scene seemed to be in a stalemate. And then the large needlebee slowly hovered in the sky, and Heracross's eyes became more and more focused. At the same time, the corner of Baizi's mouth suddenly evoked a slight smile. Next, it's time to play some tricks. My so many special episodes of Elves are not for nothing. Big Stinger, reflective wall. Huh. Shiva's expression tensed, but then, a question mark popped out of his forehead. Reflective wall. What the hell? I'm not attacking. What defense skills do you use? But the next scene made Hiba's jaw drop in shock. I saw that the giant needlebee who stopped the sword dance waved his arms in a row, and not only created a reflection wall, but created two sides in one breath, and lifted them together. What does it mean? Shiva was even more confused. But then, and many more, the appearance of these two reflecting walls. Shiva seemed to think of something in an instant, and hurriedly shouted, "Heracross, close your eyes." Shiva's response was not slow. But it was still too late. One up and down, the arc-shaped convex, concave and merged reflective walls in the central part of the two sides formed a convex lens, and the noon sunlight suddenly gathered and swelled, shining directly on the pupil of Heracross. Hey Tilda. Heracross closed his eyes tightly in pain, and the intense tingling sensation made it burst into tears. Although it didn't hurt much, for a while, it was difficult for him to open his eyes again. It's now. The opportunity is fleeting, and Baizi will naturally not hesitate at all. Large needle bees, move at high speed. Exterminate needle sticks. The sound of the sharp insect chirping resounded, and the large needlebee slid through a stream of light and flashed down, with a harsh air-tearing sound, raised his arms and dashed. The blue-green insect element turned into a huge phantom lance. Like the spear of God that judges all things, the meteor hits straight down. Hateful. Shiva's face suddenly looked a little bad. But this is a close call. He couldn't bear to think about it any longer. Heracross, fix yourself, and use the sharpest stone attack to cover it. Hey Tilda. The trainer's instructions dispelled Heracross's uneasiness, and he saw the tightly closed face and brows tightened, his arms folded high with a ruthless expression, and then he smashed directly to the ground below him regardless. Rumbling, the earth shook and the mountains suddenly rose, and countless sharp energy rocks condensed around them. No aiming at all. Turned into countless rock arrows. Shoot in its own direction. Swish, swish, and arrows rained all over the sky, and the giant stinger wasps, which were rushing down, inevitably fell into the range of the sharp stone attack, and were surrounded by such 1.7 suicide tricks that both perished. And this Jedi counterattack happened too fast. When Baizi reacted, whether it was the giant stinger or Heracross, all of them were completely covered and drowned by the attack of sharp stones like a rain of arrows. Smoke and dust suddenly rose. And at the same time, hum, 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 hum. A huge cyan beam of light soared into the sky, and the 5 ring-shaped phantoms that flashed on it one after another represented that the extermination needle of the giant stinger was also fully accomplished. And dealt 5 times the damage. Chapter 277. Go to Vivian, Nazi leaves the team, please order. With the nervous gaze of Baizi and Zyba, the smoke gradually dissipated. In the field, the 2 elves with interlaced needles and corners suddenly shook at the same time and fell on their backs. A tie. Baizi was stunned. Immediately, the system's prompts sounded one by one. You commanded the big hornet to draw Heracross of Shiva, and you have gained a little. The battle experience +10, the hornet's experience +15, the gauntlet experience +1, high-speed movement proficiency +1, swallowing proficiency +1, sword dance proficiency +1, extinction acupuncture proficiency +1. There is even a battle reward for a tie. Moreover, this magnitude does not seem to be small, does it? Baizi looked slightly surprised. All the time. No matter who the opponent is, even though he has experienced a few bloody and difficult battles, Baizi won with a complete victory. In short, he has never lost. Or even a tie is his first time today. Because of this, Baizi really didn't know that there were rewards even if the battle was not a victory. But think about it. Even if he loses and draws, he and the elves have put in their efforts. Since it is a reward for diligence, naturally there should be O2 feedback. Not bad. Very good, very powerful. Bai Zi was satisfied. And this moment. With the sound of the system's prompt sound, the experience point of the giant hornet once again met the value of the upgrade, and the momentum was condensed. With the addition of the gathered insect elements, the giant hornet trembled slightly and supported it from the ground. Beard tilde. A hissing sound seemed to be a declaration of victory, but only Bai Zi could hear the unwillingness hidden in it. For Big Needle Bee, winning with the power of miracles provided by Bai Zi, after all, is not as refreshing as it is, and it is more precious not to rely on willpower to stand up again. I still need stronger. Shiba obviously did not know the unwillingness caused by the arrogance in the heart of the hornet. Looking at Heracross who can't afford it in the end, and the giant stinger who got up again, he couldn't help but sigh, and then he retracted Heracross into the Pokeball. You've done a good job, this time, it's my negligence. This remark is not for Heracross to shirk. Whether it is spontaneous action or the execution of his final order, Heracross has done enough. It's him. From the negligence at the beginning, to being brought into the rhythm afterward. The invisible confrontation of the trainers, he was completely defeated. Huh. After a long sigh of relief, after adjusting his mentality, Zyba stepped forward, calmly, but with a fighting spirit. He stretched out his hand and said, I lost, I am looking forward to the next battle. Just a fluke. Bai Zi shook his head and reached out to shake it. As for the battle, I'm also looking forward to the fighting king who will go all out. The two looked at each other and smiled, both feeling a sense of sympathy for each other. They exchanged exclusive private communication numbers with each other. After saying goodbye, Bai Zi held a luxurious ball with a large needlebee and fell into contemplation. In this battle, it seems that he relied on whimsy to suppress Shiba for a time, but in the same way, this battle that ended in a tie also exposed his flaws in command. Obviously already relying on tactics to suppress the opponent. Why was it dragged and tied by the opponent in the end? To know. It's not inevitable. His great needlebee has a very different skill bar than Changfeng. Its exclusive gauntlet can be transformed into an outer armor to protect the fragile torso of the giant stinger. But he was too confident in his ability to adapt to emergencies, so he didn't put on this bullet jacket before the battle. So that, in the end, he was dragged into the water by the opponent, and the advantage of the early stage was wasted in vain. Did the successive victories make him unwittingly promote his pride? Ha! Bai Zi smiled bitterly. While the elf grew, he also needed to grow as a trainer. Fortunately, he will reflect on every battle, filling in the gaps. Make yourself stronger. After the battle with Shiba, Bai Zi didn't stay long in Miacha Mountain, and soon set off again, released the wind speed dog, and rode with Nazi in the direction of Joban City. It was getting late, and he needed to get to Vibrant City before it got dark. The owner of Joban Gym. Or, he needs to make sure first, whether the Victory Gym is still in normal operation. Yes, of course. Even Sakagi is mysterious and powerful, and may even encounter Mewtwo in a mechanical state. But with the two top legends, even if Chao Meng is completely controlled by Sakagi, he is not afraid at all. And if it has been abandoned, then, Bai Zi needs to find another way to get a badge outside of the 8th Avenue Hall. I hope it hasn't been abandoned. Otherwise, the badges of the 8th Avenue Hall are not complete, and there is always a feeling of incompleteness. Bai Zi thought in confusion. After all, for a person with a slight obsessive-compulsive disorder, there is no way to collect all the 8 badges of the first generation to participate in the Quartz Conference, and there will always be a feeling that something is missing. Bai Zi. Just when Bai Zi's thoughts were flying, Na Zi, who was nestled in his arms, suddenly twisted her slender waist and twisted her body from the back of the fast-moving wind speed dog. Then, facing Bai Zi's slightly stunned gaze, he said, Bai Zi, I'm ready to go back to the Golden Market. Back to the Golden City. Bai Zi was stunned for a moment, and didn't understand what Na Zi meant. Are you homesick? It's all right. After I finish playing Vibrant Gym, I can accompany you to Jinwang first. 417. No, Natsi leaned closer and interrupted, I want to go back alone. I am very happy when I am with you, but the strength with you is farther and farther away. Natsi pouted, and her expression became a little playful, although it is not necessary to be behind you, but I am a trainer anyway. Quote. I want to be by your side, and I want to protect you and help you. That feeling of powerlessness. Natsi's expression quickly passed a trace of sadness, but she soon became firm again. This time, she must complete the trial passed down from generation to generation in the family and become someone who can help Baizi. But Natsi put her finger on Baizi's lips, shook her head slightly, and then tore off the long braided hair. Floating against the wind. Blow out the fragrant hair to the white cheeks. Now, leave me some parting gifts and memories. Gudong. Baizi swallowed subconsciously. This special girl is on the back of the wind speed dog. Chapter 278. Suicune and Mei, the core fragments of Necrozma. Early the next morning. When it was just dawn. Day and night. Abu, to be specific, Baizi woke up leisurely after working day and night. The beautiful woman by her side is no longer there. He stared blankly at the ceiling for a while, then smacking his lips as if he was aftertaste. Baizi sighed lightly. A carp stood up straight. Natsu left. But he didn't get too sentimental. After all, it's not life and death. As the saying goes, a short parting is for a better encounter next time. The so-called small farewell is better than the newly married, which is exactly the reason. Random thoughts. Feeling the sticky touch all over his body, Baizi immediately got out of the tent, and fought with Mashado and Fengsudog who were standing still outside, and further away, the giant needlebees that were sentry at the top of the treetops. Say hello. He wore big pants, floated barefoot, came to the stream not far from the camp, and plunged into it. Puff tilde water splashes everywhere. Relying on the blessing of the affinity of the ocean, he can move freely underwater, and Baizi does not flutter, allowing him to be much stronger than ordinary people, and because of this, his much heavier body sinks under the surface of the water, drifting with the current. The water seemed to have spirituality, slicing through every inch of his body, washing away all the dirt on Baizi's body, dispelling the slightest tiredness he had gotten up early. Comfortable. Since the passive buff of ocean affinity, Baizi has become more and more fond of playing in the water. Of course, he plays in a variety of ways, but in any case, the word, delicate in water, can almost be said to be tailor-made for him now. But he had just floated for a while. Ow tilde. Accompanied by the slightly vigilant roar of the wind speed dog who was supporting him closely behind him. Immediately after, Baizi, who had just opened his eyes, saw a slender blue figure leaping over him, and was stopped by the wind speed dog. Suzune. Baizi was stunned for a moment, got up from the stream, and quickly recognized that this Suzune was the one he had seen before. Then he waved his hand, signaling the wind speed dog to let go of the other party. Wu tilde. Shuijun glanced at the wind speed dog who was standing beside him like Yuan Chunueji with a slightly dreadful look. Then he turned his attention to Baizi. Bright eyes. Obviously, he also recognized the human trainer who rescued it and gave him an inexplicable favor. Open black lens bracket race. Suicune close black lens bracket. Attribute, water. Characteristic, spiritual power, Monty. Level, beginning of the King of Heaven, level 60, 5/100. Potential, quasi-god. Open black lens bracket, close black lens bracket. Baizi withdrew the power of exploration that subconsciously poured out. Compared to before, the strength of this Suicune has grown again, and it has successfully broken into the realm of the king. However, Shuijun, why do you look flustered again? Could it be that someone is chasing you again? Baizi said this casually. But unexpectedly, the voice fell. Suicune actually nodded with the expression you expected. Baizi, I wipe. It really is. Baizi is a little speechless. You are a subordinate legend of the three holy beasts. If you are even promoted to the realm of the king, how can you be so miserable? Not being chased, or being chased. Do you want to be so clueless? So. This time it's water, ah. Baizi's words were only halfway through, and a naive exclamation suddenly came from behind him. Come yet. Still a woman. With this thought in mind, Baizi turned his head and looked down at the voice coming from. He had 2 pairs of meatball heads tied, and 2 red-brown double ponytails were pulled out of them. He was wearing a white top and a yellow short skirt. Her beautiful legs were completely covered by black silk. Although she looked a little embarrassed now, she couldn't hide her beauty at all. This familiar image. Yi. Baizi's expression was a little dumb. The beautiful girl in front of him, if he read it right, was clearly his eldest wife. A slip of the tongue, it was clearly the heroine in Pokemon Black 2, White 2 inches, Yi. From a comprehensive world view, it is not surprising that there is a female protagonist who is united. Or, even if there is a Tomoko, or a sexual reversal like a pure child. At most, he will bring it over to Xiaomao or Qinglu to have a look. What the hell? After all, the worldview of Pokemon itself is multi-directional. But Baizi looked strangely at the petite purple creature that was hovering and hiding behind Yai, looking at himself with an inexplicable look. Most people don't know this little guy, can he still not know it? This is clearly a specialty of the Alola region. Or to be more precise, it is the phase difference space located in the Alola region, a unique type of elves in the ultimate world, the ultimate alien beast, Poison Babe. Race, Poison Babe. Attribute, Poison. Characteristic, Alien Beast Upgrade, exclusive to the ultimate alien beast. When you defeat an opponent, your highest ability will increase. Level, Elite Beginner, Level 21, 5100ths. Potential, King of Heaven. HP, 67, Attack, 73, Defense, 67, Special Attack, 73, Special Defense, 67, Speed, 73 Price. Common Skills, Dragon's Wave, Peck, Scream, Help, Dissolving Liquid, Mage Jiao, Strike, Deadly Needle, Coquetry, Venom Impact, Substitute. Prop, Necrozma Core Fragment. Open Black Lens Bracket Status, Tired Close Black Lens Bracket. Introduction, Excellent Aptitude, born with a keen perception of good and evil, almost a prophet, and its excellent flight sensitivity can avoid most dangers. Really an excellent little guy. Wait. Baizi was stunned for a moment, his eyes widened suddenly, and he read word by word. This is the core fragment of Necrozma. P.S. Yai's wife is on the stage. Chapter 279. The Power of Inheritance, Hope, and the Deer's Rampage. Please order. Necrozma is not an ordinary legend. It is a supreme god in a different space, a personality, and is equal to Arceus, the creator god of the main world of elves. Although the strength may not be as strong as Arceus. But according to Baizi's estimate, even if Necrozma can't compare to Arceus, it is bound to be one of the top combat powers in the entire elf world. At least, it is half a level higher than ordinary top legends. And speaking of Necrozma, Baizi had to remind Baizi of the prisma that was fused when the metal monster was still an iron dumbbell. Baizero meaningfully looked at Maya, Poison Babe and Suicune, who turned away in embarrassment. Such a combination. How did it get mixed up? Was thinking. Yeah. The poisonous babe who was hiding behind Yai and secretly looking at himself seemed to be sure of something. A man came to Baizi, spinning and dancing on his head and feet. Afterwards, he stretched out his hands and handed a colorful painted crystal in his arms to Baizi. Yeah. This is for me. This time Baizi understood, and pointed his finger at himself. Seeing that the little guy in front of him turned over and nodded again and again, he suddenly reached out to take it. Because he had already used the power of Baizi to investigate this thing. It is the prop carried by the poisonous baby, Necrozma Core Fragment, Necrozma's self-separated source core fragment, which contains the power of brilliance, which can be used to comprehend Necrozma exclusive power. Exclusive power. Is it Necrozma's exclusive move, Photon Surge and Prism Laser? Baizi thought so. His face was subconsciously happy. At the same time, he unconsciously recalled the genetic skills of the future giant gold monster when he used the time-limited combat power card before. Speaking of which, I didn't notice it too much at the time. The giant gold monster seems to have completely inherited the Photon Surge and Prism Laser. These two exclusive skills are used as genetic skills. It seems that this thing is prepared for the giant gold monster. Just thinking about it, the Necrozma core fragment in his hand suddenly flashed. Suddenly, a message passed into Baizi's mind. And the painted crystallization that exudes a color of light, also immediately disappeared, and it became mediocre. It turns out that Baizi's eyes narrowed slightly, and after accepting the message that Necrozma deliberately kept in the core fragment, he finally, roughly understood the cause and effect of the matter. Before, the iron dumbbells had inadvertently managed to trigger and fuse Necrozma's body tissue, prism, that somehow flowed out. In the process of fusion, inadvertently awakened Necrozma, who was sealed in the Metropolis Ultimate Tower. In order to break out of the seal and regain the splendor that was taken away, Necrozma had to pin his hopes again, and let the four-jawed dragon clan who have been enshrining it so far select people with this core that pinned its expectations. Fragments. Seek out descendants who can inherit its cognate powers. Give gifts. Help the opponent become stronger again. In order to inherit the descendants of its homologous power, they can go to the ultimate tower of the ultimate world Metropolis to free it from the Dark Seal. And the reason why he didn't choose the stronger four-jawed needle dragon to go to the main world of elves. It is entirely because the strength attached to the core fragment is limited, and it cannot open the ultimate hole of sufficient size. Therefore, also had to choose the petite poison babe. Fortunately, this little guy lived up to expectations and successfully delivered this core fragment, which entrusted Necrozma's hope, to Baizi's hands. Necrozma. Baizi's expression was condensed. According to the panel data of the future giant gold monster, this thing is obviously harmless and successfully used. As for saving Necrozma, at this point, it's not impossible to do. Because seriously speaking, Necrozma is not an evil and violent elf. As a radiant god who brings vitality and light to all things in the ultimate world, Necrozma is gentle and compassionate. But its experience is exactly the same as that of Arceus. It trusts human beings, and it helps human beings, but it is coveted by greedy human beings. Finally, unprepared, it ushered in a backstab, and the light was taken away by the people of the ultimate metropolis, and it was sealed in the dark tower of the ultimate. The pain and betrayal of the loss of light made Necrozma, the radiant god of the ultimate world, finally plunge into endless pain and rage. However, after Ultra Necrozma lost its light, there is no protection from the power of the great god of radiance. The entire ultimate space was almost completely shrouded in darkness, and there was almost no life. The group of people who robbed Necrozma's light can only struggle to survive in the barren and dark world, which can be regarded as evil and evil. Poison babe, is this man the savior you're looking for? On the side, Yayi tiptoed forward, drew Poison Bibi to her side, and asked in a low voice with slightly red cheeks. As I asked, I couldn't help but glanced at Baizi's face and sturdy marble-like upper body, and the deer rammed around for a while, screaming in my heart. So handsome, can't stand it. Oh, 7 asterisk Q tilde. Yahahaha tilde. Poison babe nodded affirmatively. Subsequently, he rushed back to Baizi, turned around, and began to smear and paint on the shore. But I didn't draw 2 strokes. Goo tilde. Goo tilde. A soft sound suddenly came from this little guy's abdomen, and Poison babe wilted suddenly, and then another sound. Baizi turned his head. Immediately, he met the girl's watery eyes that were ashamed and angry. Okay, it's time for breakfast, this little lady, may I have the honor to invite you to dinner? Baizi said politely. The girl's earlobes and neck were all rendered pink, but she nodded subconsciously in the face of Baizi's invitation. Well. Ya tilde. Poison Babe looked heartless and cheered when he heard that there was food. Tang ah tilde tilde tilde. However, following behind Yayi, the person who had no sense of existence stood up to the emerald green snake, forgot to glance at his master who was not bewitched by beauty, and stroked his forehead with a hopeless expression. However, it tilted its head and forgot to greet the man who was leading the way in front of Sujin. This man always felt a kind of aura that was difficult to make people feel bad. Is it an illusion? Was thinking. Seeing the man in front turned his head as if he had felt something. The blue eyes were filled with clouds and mist, which made Tang Tang Snake suddenly shudder. Almost stumbled on the ground without noticing. Huh, what's the matter with you, Fuji Rattan Snake? Ya. Tang Tang Snake shook his head, indicating that his stupid master and Poison Bibi were all right. Then, I used my peripheral vision to observe Bai Zelai more carefully. Encountering such two unsuspecting trainers and companions, it really hurts the snake _1 aim tilde. This chapter contains pictures. Click on the screen, click the illustration button in the lower right corner to view the picture. Chapter 280. Sui Jun's shock. Mei joins the team. For full order. Race, rattan snake. Attribute, grass. Characteristics, lush, naysayers, Monty. Level, elite beginner, level 22, 95/100. Potential, king of heaven. HP, 45, attack, 45, defense, 55, special attack, 45, special defense, 55, speed, 63. Common skills, impact, stare, vine whip, tight, growth, grass mixer, parasitic seeds, ultimate absorption, shadow clone, grass nut, stand-in. Genetic skill, green grass. Status, good, light tilde slightly tired. Introduction, the vine snake with excellent aptitude and a rather cautious personality, with delicate observation and keen combat intuition, it's really an interesting little guy, and Baizi recalled the data panel he had just checked in his mind, and the corners of his mouth rose slightly. It's good enough, should it be called the heroine's initial elf? Wait. If the heroine of the game is the one of destiny, right? Baizi suddenly thought of this, and his eyes suddenly lit up. If it really counts, then he will soon usher in the 8th destiny reward. Return to camp. Get dressed. Baizi personally prepared a very hearty breakfast. All kinds of porridge, medicated meals, fruit plates. There are dazzling arrays, filled with long folding tables with nearly 10 meters. Gudong tilde. Yayi swallowed. This, so much. There are a lot of people in the family who open their mouths, I can't help it. Baizi shrugged and said, and then released the elves in the stunned expression on Mei Yi's face. Shinado, Zoroark, Laplace, Metal Monster, Ibrahimovic, Geely Egg, Little Fire Monkey. In addition to the Wind Speed Dog, Machado, and Big Stinger, who were already outside, it also included Kangsheng, Black Rift Seat, Zeraora, and Little Lugia. There are 14 elves in total. Not to mention the quantity, the preciousness is obvious to all. But now Baizi doesn't need to hide and tuck too much, and there is no need to show off too much in the public, but it is unnecessary to hide and tuck as before. Say it arrogantly. With the power he has now, even if the Alliance talks to him, it needs to carefully weigh the tone. Okay, a lot of elves. Mei was dumbfounded. How can you have so many elves? Can't you only carry 6? The extra elves seem to be teleported directly, right? In fact, Yayi has little knowledge. Change to a knowledgeable one who doesn't care about the quantity at all. This team is Flash, Alienation, Phantom Beast, and Legend. The appearance of this level can really scare people to death. Of course. Although it didn't frighten anyone to death, Suicune was about to frighten to death. There are at least half of the momentum above it, and many of the stronger ones are not motionless. What's more, the gleaming rift seat and the handsome wolf-shaped elf made it look like a pavilion. Simply. It's like facing the Lord directly. The shock in Suikun's heart is not to be mentioned for the time being. Baizi laughed lightly after hearing Yayi's question. Shaking his head, he explained, 6 is just so that most people can take good care of the elf they hold. If you don't want to teleport, just press this. As he said that, he pointed to an inconspicuous switch on the side of the elf belt at his waist, and continued, as for myself, if it is not necessary, I prefer to have them by my side. Sana tilde. Wu tilde. Soa tilde. A kind of elf, either warm or moved, looked at Baizi and smiled. That's great. Yayi clenched her hands on her chin and muttered to herself with a slightly blurred expression. The little girl was completely fascinated by Baizi. The so-called starts with appearance and ends with character. It goes without saying that Baizi's appearance is not inferior to the immortal appearance of the writers and readers. When ordinary girls see it, how can they control it? Not to mention, the scene where they met was still so exciting. How could a little girl with a simple personality like Yayi live? Coupled with the hardships that have been pursued all the way, can it not be impressive? As for character, in the world of elves, there is nothing more touching and reflecting personality than the bond between man and elves. 0. Ask for flowers. Wow, I'm so full tilde 1. Yeah tilde. Vine tilde. After a hearty breakfast, Baizi smiled without shaking his head as he looked at Mei, Poison Babe, and Fujiteng Snake, who were sitting almost in the same position. During the chat at breakfast, he also learned something about the hardships of Mei and Dubei's trip. Of course, there are plenty of jokes. How about, since you are in Kanto, do you want to go to the quartz conference with me? In the gap between Shinado packing the tableware, Shiro, I'm not a scumbag, I just love all beings. Z suddenly opened an invitation. Ah, Mei's eyes lit up, is it okay? Of course there's no problem. Okay, that's it, let's get to know him formally. My name is Mei, and I come from Hinoki City in the Hajong area. The goal of the trip is to witness the beautiful scenery and, of course, the delicious food. Mei was full of energy. He introduced himself with a full look. At the same time, he subconsciously raised his right hand and gestured for a high five. But then, she remembered that the young man in front of her was not her good sister Tuzi, and her face turned a little red. Just when she was thinking about how to retract her palm smoothly and without embarrassment. Pa tilde Baizi lightly hit it and chuckled. My name is Baizi, I'm from Junshin Town in the Kanto region, and I'm currently challenging the last gym to participate in the quartz tournament. Please advise me tilde. Saying that, he squeezed his eyes towards Mei, and immediately dispelled the slightest embarrassment in Mei's heart. Yayi nodded heavily, her moist eyes narrowed into crescent moons. Please advise me. Yayi, join the team. Several